welcome to the 447th episode of the Random Podcast from Heck. My name is Tony, and this is the podcast about random things in the world of entertainment, which includes movies, TV shows, and comic books. Big shout out to Andrew Loken. He is a big supporter of the show. You can be a supporter by going to patreon.com/gmanfromheck. Any amount you can commit to will be awesome. If you commit at the Rick Jones tier or higher, you get access to the secret podcast from Heck, which is an additional 30-ish minutes of extra podcast entertainment every single week. I sometimes do off-of-mind topics, just take an idea and see where it goes. Last week's didn't go so well because I recorded it way too late and I was literally falling asleep. Other times, I'm going to do this week is another one of those like Silver Age DC weird, wacky covers and see like what the heck is going on. I haven't even decided what I'm going to do, so we'll see. But if you can't commit to a monthly commitment, you can also help out by going to coffee.com/gmanfromheck, and you can buy me a virtual cup of coffee or 3. And that's ko-fi.com/gmanfromheck. So yeah, every little bit helps, especially this week. This week's movie was very expensive. We'll talk about that. So what is happening this week? The movie, as I was just alluding to, is Project Hail Mary. The reason it was expensive, more expensive than normal, a couple of reasons. One, my daughter went with me, so that was great. But we saw it in Screen X. So I mentioned Screen X when I saw Scream 7, right? And so I decided to try. This was the better choice. Scream 7. It was cool. The Screen X. So Screen X, in case you're not familiar, in case you didn't listen to that last episode or you missed that part. Screen X, you can go to YouTube and just, if you search Screen X, there's like a little video that kind of explains it. It's basically you have, your main screen and you have 2 screens on the side. And there's like extra footage. So it's kind of like, say, an IMAX movie. It's a different format. So it's a different camera, whatever is being used. You get extra content versus if you see it in a regular theater. And with a movie like Project Hail Mary, which is all out in space and spaceships and whatever, it was really cool. More about that later. What else do we have? We have the season finale of Wonder Man. And we have another episode of Monarch, Legacy of Monsters. And that's going to be it. So hopefully it'll be a little lighter. We will catch up. We got some new stuff coming up in the coming weeks. We got new shows being added. But this will hopefully be a good episode for me. Things have still been crazy. Still like extra meetings and not being able to get my grading done and stuff like that. But we are here to talk about entertainment. So let's talk about some news. The big news is Spider-Man Brand New Day trailer came out. People are excited about this. It had 718.6 million views in 24 hours. 718.6 million. And the previous record was 365 million. So that's crazy. Did I write that down? I wrote the numbers down. It's like 365 compared to 718. Come on. The 365 million was Deadpool and Wolverine. So holy crap, that's a lot of views, and it's crazy. When's the movie come out? July 31st, 2026. And, we see a lot. There's some homages. There's some Easter eggs. We got the Punisher in there, which is pretty funny. More on Zendaya or MJ, not remembering who Peter is, MJ and Ned. And we see Scorpion, and there's hints of other villains. And who's that mysterious person in the hoodie? So there's a lot going on here, and it's gonna be cool. So I can't wait to see like what the heck are they gonna do with that. And it just because when was the last Marvel movie we had? It was it Fantastic Four? Am I like totally forgetting? So there's a lot. Speaking of Marvel movies, there's the studios and Marvel in particular. I mean, I'm sure other studios do this where they they lock in certain dates. Like, oh, we're going to put this movie. And I don't know how it goes. I don't know if it's just a matter of like who announces it first or who locks it in first or whatever. Because Marvel, there's some switches changing, but we're talking 2028. There was some mystery movie, and it's just something that hasn't been announced, which seems like, can you really do that? Say, we're going to release something, we don't know what, we haven't even started it, we haven't even thought about it, we don't have a script, or we don't even have a director, but we release something in February 18th, 2028. But then apparently they're pushing that back from February 2028 to July 28th, 2028. And July 28th, that's like coveted date. You know, the July, those are the big weekends. So we'll see what else is going to happen. Or what, I don't even know what it's going to be. So something's opening in July. And then there was something listed on November 10th, 2028. That's been removed. That is not even on the calendar. So does that mean Marvel only has one movie coming out in 2028? Because that's kind of crazy. So I don't like that. I want as many Marvel movies as possible, but you know, is there superhero fatigue, comic movie fatigue? I don't know, but I want, because there's so many. There's so many things that haven't been touched on, so many things that were teased. There's so many characters out there, but whatever. I guess if there's not the demand as there used to be, I don't know. What about Defenders? There's rumors about the Defenders. So with Daredevil, Daredevil's starting this week. Daredevil Born Again Season 2. So we know we got Jessica Jones. Awesome. There's rumors that Luke Cage is going to he's going to appear in the season. One speculation is he doesn't have a lot of time. Don't get your hopes up. You're not going to see a lot of them. It's just a very little bit. And then, there's been a lot of speculations like, oh, we're going to have Iron Fist. And I think part of that speculation was, what's the actor's name? Finn? Is his name Finn? The actor plays Iron Fist. He posted a picture where he's like working out. He's at the gym. And he put like New York City. So people were like, oh, you're working out in New York City? You must be getting ready for a Marvel movie. But then supposed insiders, whatever, they're like, no, he's not going to be in Daredevil season 2. But he's probably going to appear in maybe season 3. So I don't know. I mean, it just seems kind of silly. And then some people were saying that the actress that was Elektra in the Netflix Daredevil is going to be appearing back, and which is weird because not that long ago they're like oh no, they haven't even reached out to her, and I don't know if there's talk of like recasting, but yeah, I barely remember it. I mean, I if I had like unlimited time and energy, I would go back and watch. I'm really curious to watch those original those Daredevil seasons. I don't remember how much I liked that portrayal of Elektra. I don't know, but fingers crossed. Bad news. So the Buffy Vampire Slayer reboot, it got canceled. Or not that it got canceled. It didn't get greenlit. So it's not going to happen, which is crazy because it's like we heard so much about it. And this is what I was confused about, because they're talking about like all these actors, all these characters returning, actors who are going to be in the reboot and everything like that. But it's like it was just a pilot, so it's not like they're added to the cast. They were just in the pilot episode, and as we probably pretty much all know, a lot of times shows have pilot episodes. The networks look at them, and then they're like, "Oh, this is really cool. Yes, green light, go make more." Or else they'll be like, yeah, let's not do that. We're not going to go ahead with this. So but I'm assuming it's not quite the same as that, because a lot of times they're like, hey, we want to do this show. Let's go. They already have the approval. But apparently that wasn't the case with this. So people were toying around. It's like, maybe we're going to see, could we like bring back Buffy? There seems to be like people interested. Let's see what we can do with that. But then all that work, all that talk that we kept seeing, and everyone's like, oh, someone else is being added. And again, all these people that were added, and it's like new actors, new characters, returning characters. I don't know if all of those appeared in that pilot episode, or if they're saying, if we go, here's our script. Did we even have a script for the season, or did they only just have for the first episode? Because then it also seems crazy where you're bringing all these people. It's like, okay, we're gonna film this episode, then we got to like edit it and do all this, produce it, all that stuff, and then if it gets greenlit, how long is that process? Then it's like, okay, yes, we're gonna go with this series, and then how long until now we start production on the actual season? Because there's always, like in the olden days, sometimes you watch that first episode and then the next episode is like, oh, they look a little weird, or the hair has gotten a little longer or something, because time has passed. So apparently they passed on it, and that's just, it seems kind of crazy. I guess some things that have been said, like Sarah Michelle Gellar has been apparently kind of candid with some things. Someone said that they kind of knew it wasn't going to move forward. So it's like that sucks that you're pouring all this energy and you have a pretty good idea. It's not going to happen. That seems weird. But Sarah Michelle Gellar was saying that one of the executives, whatever, or like one of the producers, someone like high up in charge, hadn't even watched the series before, knew nothing about the original Buffy franchise. Yet they're helping make the decision whether we should have this or not. That seems just dumb. Of course they're not going to go forward with it because they probably don't even understand what it means, what it's about. It's like, oh, there's vampires. Okay, it's a vampire show. It's more than that. So I don't know. That just seems weird. And then apparently, I don't know if it was a script, if anyone's seen the script or someone has or whatever, where Sarah Michelle Gellar, spoiler, because I don't know if we're ever going to see this pilot, but apparently she only had like one line because she was only going to appear in the final moment. I mean, that makes sense. You're doing all the stuff, you're setting up new whatever, new people, new this and that. And then at the end, dramatic entrance, there's, Buffy, and she like, let's go, or whatever, Zooey Mama, I don't know. And then the other thing she has said, she's like, Sarah Michelle Gellar says, like, please don't watch it. Like, if a pirated version leaks online, please don't watch it because it hasn't been fully edited. And wait, back up, or like record scratch or whatever. If it hasn't been fully edited, who the heck is deciding if they want to do it? What are you deciding it on? You're going to watch something that's not even finished, and you're like, oh, this doesn't even look cool. There's not going to be the full magic of seeing an actual episode. And I get that you don't want to put all the money in, to do all this stuff if you're not sure it's worth it, because I don't know. I don't even know why I'm going on. So it's obviously I would love for it to have happened. But if it wasn't there, if it wasn't going to do it justice, or if it just wasn't quality, but I don't know. I feel like there is the potential there, and it sucks that it's not going to happen. Part of me was wondering, is like, well, could someone else pick it up? And that could be a tricky thing because it's like, who paid for the pilot? Is it someone at Disney? Because if it was going to be on Hulu, and was Buffy on Fox? It was on WB. And then they went to, it was on UPN, and then it went to WB or something. I don't even know. But I guess, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. It's a shame. Another genre, sort of familiar time, Firefly. I guess, they've been talking about doing something else, I don't know if it was a movie or something like that, but they're like, yeah, it's not going to be live action. It's going to be animated. And I think it was Nathan Fillion that kind of said, okay, there's a reason why we can't do live action. And the reason is because of the passing of Ron Glass, who played Shepherd Book. So he's no longer around. He's no longer available. And they're like, we can't do live action without him. It just wouldn't be right. If they were to do an animated, they could recast him. They could get someone that could sound like him or do that and it's like, okay, let's do it justice and move forward. But yeah, so that's the tricky area, but we'll have to see what happens with that. When I saw Project Hail Mary, I saw the trailer for Dune 3. It looks good. I don't know what it is about these Dune movies. I mean, they're so long, and there's so a lot going on there. I know I've said this so many times. I've probably said this twice now for the first and the second movies. I listened to at least the first two audiobooks. I don't even remember. I should look at my Audible library. And they're actually good. Considering these are older books, written at several decades ago. A lot of times the writing style feels a tiny bit archaic, or it has a different vibe or whatever. But I seem to recall that they were pretty good. I enjoyed them. I didn't love them like some people do, and that's just whatever my personal taste. I'm not knocking them, but the movies are good. Amazing cast, so many people in there, so great effects. But I'm just not super duper excited. But I will definitely see that. But yeah, it looks good. There's so much going on, and trying to remember what's going to happen in this. What else is left to happen? Darth Maul. So we have this Darth Maul show coming out. Oh, when was it? April something. So next month. Darth Maul, Star Wars. I don't know if this is a full title. Star Wars, Darth Maul, Shadow Lord. It's going to be the longest title ever. What they're doing, which I don't like, they're releasing 2 episodes per week. And I don't remember if they're I'm going to assume they're half-hour episodes, just like Clone Wars, just like Bad Batch. So they're probably releasing 2 20-something, 23, 25-minute episodes. But why not just make the episodes an hour? And I guess, maybe you can do different standalone episodes. They don't necessarily have to carry over. But I don't get me started on this. I just don't understand the need to crank stuff out. I know that there is a batch of people. There's a bad batch of people where they can't stand waiting week after week for the next episode. I think that makes it more exciting. I'm gonna talk about the finale of Wonder Man, and I thought it was great. Week, episode every week, and even it's kind of funny. I just finished watching Wonder Man, and then now I get to perfect timing straight into Daredevil. So it's almost like they planned it that way, but they didn't quite plan it that way. I don't understand, and I get that if you have time, you're excited, you want to just go boom, 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 and plow through it all. But then it's over before you know it, and then it's forever until you get anything more. So I don't know. It just seems weird. So 2 episodes per week. So okay, cool. We got that. Exit 8. I really hope I get a chance to watch this. I've talked about this many times. I think Neon picked up the distribution rights. So it's going to be in theaters April 10th. It has a PG-13 rating, and it's basically this, it's some weird, I think it's a subway station, and there's no way out or something like that, and it's just kind of weird and creepy, and I look it up. Go after you look up the Screen X trailer, then search for Exit 8, and you'll see. So I hope I can see that. I'm not even sure. I meant to check what else comes out on April 10th, but I really do want to see that. Ryan Gosling. I totally missed this. So Ryan Gosling's going to be in Star Wars. We know that. Oh, I also apparently missed that Tom Cruise was on set for a Starfighter, and Ryan Gosling had mentioned that the one day he takes a break, takes a day off, is when Tom Cruise crashes a set. And Sean Levy, I guess, just shared pictures, and he's like, what? But so Ryan Gosling is in Star Wars, so he's going to be part of that franchise. There's a possibility he might be in a Marvel franchise, which, eventually at some point, we got to start getting more people, because, the old guard, whatever, is moving out, and I'm assuming they're going to want to keep things going. But apparently he's been in, there's mention of him in being Ghost Rider, and he was asked about that, and he said there's been some discussions have been had, but it's a complicated situation. Not really sure what that means. It's a complicated situation. Why is it complicated? I don't know. I don't know how I feel. I'm not like the biggest Ghost Rider fan. It's fine. I mean, Ryan Gosling is great. It'll be cool. I guess there's a lot you could do with it. Make it a little darker. It's not so much a superhero movie. So yeah, it could be interesting. I don't know, but we'll have to see. So I wonder what the discussion is. Is it like salary? Is it scheduling? Is it waiting, hoping there's a decent script? Seems to be an issue lately. I don't know. So we'll have to see what happens with that. Will we get Ryan Gosling as Ghost Rider or not? Oh, one thing I wanted to mention, I forgot to mention this. Going back to Spider-Man, one of the big things people are talking about is we see, we know Hulk is going to, or quote unquote, Hulk is going to be in a movie. You see in the trailer, it's Bruce Banner. And I'm trying to think, it was mentioned that, it was Mark Ruffalo was going to be in it. And I think people kind of knew. I'm trying to remember like my thought. I think I kind of figured that, because it's not like Hulk's going to be in it. It's going to be Banner. We see in a trailer, Peter Parker goes to talk to Dr. Banner about stuff going on with his body's changing or whatever. So basically, we've seen this. It's nothing really news and shocking, but like people are talking about it. It's like, oh, he's back to Banner now. He's in human form. He's in Banner form. But it's like we saw that in She-Hulk, and I'm trying to think, have we seen anything after She-Hulk? I still don't know what the deal is with Scar. Has that been addressed anywhere? I don't think so. But Bruce had mentioned to his cousin Jennifer about having like the Ben 10 watch, inhibitor, the gamma inhibitor. So, and you can see that he's wearing something in the trailer, and without it, I guess he's going to Hulk out, or he could Hulk out. So, okay. But yeah, so people are talking about that. But it's like, wait, that's not really huge news, I don't think. So, okay. So the last bit of news is apparently Damon Lindelof, who's like one of the creators for the Lanterns DC show, he made a joke about why it's called Lanterns and not Green Lanterns. Because a lot of people have been wondering that, why is it just called Lantern? And it is a weird name. How's that going to be like enticing to anyone? Hey, let's watch a show called Lanterns. I mean, if I heard about that, it's like, what is it? Just a bunch of lanterns hanging like on a rope or whatever? But what he said, I guess. Now, if I remember correctly, I think he said something in 2024 about it. Which, was it that long ago? I don't know if that's right. Because he said that it's called Lanterns because they all agreed that the green was stupid. So now it's just Lanterns. So I guess he said that then on a podcast or something like that. And then when the trailer came out, whatever you say, it doesn't go away. It's there somewhere. So his comments came up online. And then Mr. Grant Morrison, who is an awesome writer, he heard about it. And then he wrote on his Substack, he's like, the only people who give a fudge about the Lanterns TV series are Green Lanterns fans. Why alienate them from the start? That feels more like, quote unquote, stupid. And then what Damon Lindelof said, he's like, I have upset Grant Morrison, which means that I have now pissed off most of the brilliant British-Scottish comic writers that I grew up idolizing. To quote the Bard, Otis Redding, this is nobody's fault but mine. So he posted a picture on Instagram wearing a Green Lantern shirt, like from the Lost Days. Okay. And he's like, I was sloppy and careless with my words, ironic considering I care so much about Hal, John, and Tyrant Core. I can and will do better to be worthy of the oath. Until then, I'll let the show speak for itself. I can't wait for y'all to hear what it has to say. Yeah, and I always say this, that you shouldn't be critical about anything. You are entitled to your opinion. And yeah, that was a joke. I'm sure he doesn't mean that. But I just feel it's not the best move to straight up say, I don't like this. Like if someone were to say, I hate Star Trek, And then you're going to get all the people who love Star Trek. They're going to be like, what is, then they're not going to want anything to do with you. Or if you say, I don't like pizza, then people are going to be, what? How can you not like pizza? Pizza's great. So it's one thing that if you don't like something or, and when I say stuff, I always try to preface it where this is just my opinion. And I am not saying, but a lot, and the difference is, I'll say that I don't care for it. It's not for me. But I hope other people are excited for it, whatever. And I'm not just trying to play nice or backpedal or anything like that. Because, I'm just being honest. There's like some things that, we're about to go into comics. There's a lot of comics I tried reading. I can't get into them. And whether, again, my tastes are changing or evolving, or if it's I don't know. There's something going on that part of me feels like, I should be talking about this in the comic section, but part of me feels like there's something with maybe a change in the writing style, or maybe it's I've read just way too many stories, and this just isn't exciting because I've seen this time and time again with this one character or whatever. But with that, I would never say, oh, this is a stupid character, unless it's someone like Carnage. But see, I'm reading Carnage. You get a great writer like Charles Soule, it's like, dang it, I'm going to read this book. And like, who else did I hate? So there's a couple that I joke about, but if you love Carnage, but see, that's a Cletus Cassidy Carnage, which if you're a Cletus Cassidy fan, if you love a serial killer with a symbiote, I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, so you got to just be careful what you say. And so at any time, if I say I don't like something, it is not trying to negate what you love or believe or think or whatever, because we have, if we all like the same thing, that would be very boring, because we would only have like one thing or whatever, or we'd be very limited. So we have to have variation. There should be something for everyone. And not everything needs to be for everyone. I'm seeing a lot of stuff that, yeah, it's not doing it for me, but I know there are tons of other people that love that. So that's great. The last thing I should mention, last thing, is Stranger Things. It's been announced. Arrow Video, I think that's what they call themselves, just Arrow. Arrow does they do great releases. So it's going to be in good hands. They're releasing the entire Stranger Things series. So 5 seasons, feels like there's more than 5. On 4K. So, and I think it's gonna be like $200. So I really want to get that, but it's like, I feel like I think if you pre-order, it's like I don't know if I'll do up front, probably, maybe. That's a lot of money to put up front. And the only reason, you want to do this is, yeah, it's like, some people are like, why are you going to buy that when you can just watch it on Netflix? And the reason why, one, because it's in 4K, and I'm not paying the 4K premium price for Netflix. And even if it was, you tell me if I'm wrong. I don't know anyone who's paying that. Is there truly a difference? Because my understanding of most things, whenever someone says, "Oh, it's in 4K," it's still compressed. It's being compressed so it can stream. And even if it wasn't, when you are when you're watching something, it depends on your internet. And if you don't have like supreme quality internet, it's going to start buffering. The quality it's going to go down a bit, so it doesn't buffer, so it doesn't pause. There has been times I've been watching movies on Vudu, and you try going for the highest thing, and then sometimes it'll start pausing. It's like, do you want to keep trying, or do you want to lower the quality a tad? And there's not a huge amount of difference. Some people can tell, probably most people can't. And sometimes I can't tell, and you usually pay attention to that. So it's not that big of a deal, but you're not getting pure 4K. And it also depends on what kind of TV do you have, and so forth. So I really want to get it, but it's a lot of money. So you can always go to coffee.com/gmanfromheck and help me get that. I worry. I think stupidly, a small part of me is like, why I wasn't planning on talking about it. I was like, well, if I talk about it, more people might, some people listening might go and pre-order it. Then the pre-orders are going to sell out. I'm not going to be able to get it. But I can't be selfish like that. So I hope I get a chance to pre-order it. I just got to think about it. Because part of it is, I'm being fully honest, is Record Store Day is in April. So Record Store Day is when twice a year record stores get exclusive vinyl. And a lot of stuff is only released, limited quantities. And sometimes it's like 1,000, sometimes it's like 10,000. But you can only get them at record stores on this one day. And record stores can't always get everything that's like being released. Like I want to get, they want to order this, but they're allocated because it's like all the indie record stores who sign up for this, whatever, they can, they're like kind of fighting to try to get as many copies as they can. And of course, you're got the scalpers that try to, snatch everything up, and then they'll sell them on eBay right after. But, most record stores are really cool where, you line up and some people sleep out. You got to line up overnight. And you get in, whatever. So there's a couple things, a few things that I'm interested in this year. So I got to save up my money for that because I am not made of money. So we'll see. But that is going to be the news for the week. And I got nothing to go with. So now comic books. I should re-edit that. I'm not going to re-edit that because the way with comic books, I don't think I read. No, I take it back. I read Racer X. Racer X came out. I think it was this week, but I did read Racer X. I dig it. It's cool because I always wonder, how these comics go, and I have this vision what I want to see more of. But with Racer X, there's these different organizations, and most of them are kind of shady, where they're like betting on themselves type of thing, because there's these big races are huge. Get a little upset when they don't win because they're losing this money on when they're betting on themselves. The races aren't like your typical races. I mean, they're like violence is allowed, and I don't know the full extent of like how much you're allowed to do. But Racer X has been causing problems for some people, and he's also been helping out his non-public brother, Speed Racer. People don't know that, which is like, okay, you're making it a little obvious, because people are already noticing that you're helping him out, you're looking out for him. Yeah, so yeah, we got this crime organization not happy with him, so they're trying to take him out, and Racer X is too savvy for that. So a lot of cool things there. I'm digging it, and I've said it so many times. I love that we have Speed Racer, Racer X, and Gotchaman comics. So thank you, Mad Cave. I mean, this is like my childhood. I was so amazed. I had no idea that this was like the early days of anime when I was watching these, old cartoons, that were made before I was born. And it was so cool. At Image, we had Exquisite Corpses. I need to get caught up. I don't even remember what the last issue I read, but issue 11 came out, and I really enjoyed this comic. It's such a cool comic. It's so much fun. I just don't know what happened. I missed an issue, then I missed the next one, and then so I gotta figure out where I'm at. We did have Geiger 22. Cover is a little misleading. This doesn't happen in this issue that what I'm looking at. So what's going on in Geiger and the Northerner. So the Northerner we've seen in Redcoat. He's basically like a time traveling soldier, and he's not even clear like who's sending him on these missions or whatever. But he grew up in a timeline, and he realized he was shown that that's not how things are supposed to be, because like in his timeline, the South won the Civil War and so forth. Then there's like stuff with Martin Luther King and everything. Or someone showed, I think he was killed earlier or something like that. And I think he was shown like the speech, the I Have a Dream speech. Yeah, so different things like that. But now the Northerner has made it to Geiger's time, and he doesn't quite know why. So they're making their way to Detroit, and they got this big tank. But what's nice about this is they come across like a group of kids who were liberated from I forget her name, the Lady Geiger. That's not her name, but these kids were taken for like slave trade and stuff like that or whatever, and she liberated them and gave them weapons and stuff like that. So Geiger and the Northerner come across these kids, and they're very jaded and everything like that. But at one point, like Geiger sees one of the kids carrying a bunch of books, and he's like, "Oh, are you gonna read those?" And they're like, "Read those? Why would I read them?" And they basically had it because like a table was lopsided or something like that. So then later you see him, he's like reading, what book was Jack and the Beanstalk to all the kids, and they're getting like so into it and everything because they've never had that. Because this is in the future, and they've just had this horrific life. So it was really nice. It was really sweet to see him, doing that. And Northerner's like, you must have been a good father. And he was like, I was a great father. But he lost his family and everything. And one of the things, like in the time tank, someone put a picture of his family. So it's like who knew about this? So that's why Geiger's interested in helping Northerner get to Detroit, because he wants to see, talk to whoever's in charge and what is going on, what do you want? Some cool things. And then weird kind of cliffhanger ending. So yeah, we have that. There was also G.I. Joe number 20, and you see on the cover we got Duke and Optimus Prime. Like, what? Duke is on almost. I almost want to say he's on a rampage against Transformers, because his friend was killed by Starscream, and is he overreacting a bit? I guess we'd have to say, yeah, probably, because he doesn't see the difference between Autobot and Decepticons. He's like, okay, these robots, they came and they killed my friend and everything like that. So when he found out that there's a Autobot that befriended Clutch, he had a fit and everything about that, and so now it's to the point where he's going to meet up Optimus, and so that's it's going to be interesting. So we have that. A buddy of mine has been reading The Darkness. So Darkness number 4 came out. I haven't read any of this, and it's because of time. I mean, I enjoyed The Darkness before. I read more Witchblade than I read The Darkness, but I did read a bit of Darkness. There's a while. I mean, I was really getting into it. And it was I think it was when Ron Mars was writing Witchblade and everything like that. So with the relaunch of Witchblade, I enjoyed it. I think I only read the first 2 issues or something like that, and then it's unfortunate. It's one of those things where I got behind, and then it's just further and further behind, and then it's there's no turning back type of thing. With The Darkness, when that came out, I think I kind of missed when the first issue came out, and now we're at issue 4. But he says that he's been enjoying it, so and that's great. I think that's awesome, because I hope people are enjoying it. The fact that he says it's good, he's digging it. That's great news for the longtime Darkness fans. So I wish it a lot of success and so forth. At Marvel, we had Amazing Spider-Man number 4, number 24? What number is this? No, this is part 4 of something I can't read. Oh my gosh, my eyes. See, what's the legacy number? I can't even read the legacy number. I'm not even going to try to read that. So Spider-Man, let's say 24. And this is continuing the Death Spiral storyline. And I really don't know how I really feel about this. One thing I do not like is that Carnage knows Peter Parker is Spider-Man. He found out. And then we got this Death Spiral. Is it Torment? I think it's Torment, where he's been killing members of the Parker and Brock family. And I'm trying to remember if he killed a Watson or anyone like that. So he's going after these relatives, to try to make a statement. And there's one point where he runs up, he's like, no, the spiral's not tight enough. So there's not enough, I don't know what he's talking about. And what happened last week, the last part, is they were going after Eddie Brock's father. I don't know how much has been said before and where it's been said, but Eddie Brock's dad was a piece of crap. And, the last issue, we saw some flashbacks. I think it was last issue, not this one. But it's his father. And so, he's rushing out to try to save, stop Torment from killing his dad. And then Spider-Man and Venom, Mary Jane, they're trying to figure out what's going on too. So It's interesting, it's a cool team up, but it's a lot of symbiotes. And I don't know how I feel about that. Or I think we do know how I feel about it. I'm not like a big symbiote fan. So, yeah, but I'm curious where this is going to go. There was a Black Panther Intergalactic #4. It's an interesting looking cover. I don't know what's going on there. Captain America #8. This is Doom Shadow Part 3. Basically, with Doom off the board, a lot of people are trying to raid Doom's castle and weapons, and the people are worried about, like, does he have weapons of mass destruction? So everyone's trying to, who's going to rule Latveria? So Captain America, Nick Fury Jr. Recruited him, talked him into it. He didn't want to have anything to do with it, but he talked Steve Rogers into going over there, and Steve's learning some different things about some of the different groups, and then we have Red Hulk, Thunderbolt Ross, where he just wants to, like, take over, and like the Secretary of State's like, dude, this is too personal for you. Dr. Doom kidnapped you or captured you, held you prisoner for months, and you're too close to this, and he's just going off the books, and he's like, we got to do, he's got this group of people who are loyal to him, soldiers, and he's like, some people might call us traitors, whatever, but we got to do this, and they're like, yeah, we're with you, which is crazy. So a lot of cool things there. Cyclops #2. So Cyclops, I'm trying to remember what happened in the first issue. I don't remember if he was looking for a mutant, if there's a signature, but basically we got, like, Donald Pierce, stupid Donald Pierce. I'm sorry if you like Donald Pierce and the Reavers, I'm not a fan, but he's apparently, like, using, like, some mutants they're trying to find, I don't know if it's vibranium or is it not mysterium, but Cyclops was in, I don't know I don't know if he was going after a mutant or just whatever. His ship gets taken down, and his visor gets destroyed. So Cyclops doesn't have his visor, so he's basically blind because he can't control his beams. It was squint a little bit, and it was the first. When I'm reading the first issue, I was like, But this one, I enjoyed it a little more. So it's cool to, but it kind of feels like, okay, Cyclops is immensely powerful. His optic blasts are heavy duty. And he's a great strategist. He's a great leader. He's got some hand-to-hand skills and everything like that. Not that he's like the uber supremely powerful character mutant, but I feel like, let's disable his optic blast to take him down a peg, and so he's not too powerful. Because all you gotta do is just go in and start blasting, and that's always like hit or miss. It's like some people are affected more than others. I don't know, understand that. But yeah. Then we have Infernal Hulk #5. So the last issues, I think it was issue 4, inspired, as I mentioned, the Off My Mind Patreon exclusive podcast. But this one, it's so basically, again, Hulk's body has been taken over, and Banner has been, like, kind of kicked out. So Banner is just Banner. He's got no Hulk abilities. Him and Betty Ross are, like, living a civilian life in the suburbs, but they're seeing this evil Hulk is, like, on a rampage, this destruction, and he's like, well, nothing we can do about it. That was in the past, and we're doing this, and she's going through a lot, which is kind of weird. Not weird, but it's kind of heavy. And Banner's, because I mentioned how, like, the last time Iron Man and Captain America? Now I'm forgetting. And maybe Black Panther, they track down Banner, and they're like, you got to do something. And he's like, dude, I'm not the Hulk. It's not my problem anymore. And then Tony Stark's like, well, blah, 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 because he created the Hulk. And so I don't know, but yeah, we'll see. Because then there was like a family member of someone, one of their neighbors was a soldier who was killed. So it's like, Then we have Moon Knight #2. So when this last Monday, Marvel said, "Hey, reviewers, we're going to lift the embargo on Moon Knight #2. So if you want to do a spoiler-free review, go ahead. Because otherwise, you got to wait till Wednesday, new comic day release." So I was like, this is Moon Knight number 2. Why are they lifting the embargo on issue 2 of a Moon Knight? And even though it's issue 2, it's issue 40. I mean, I don't even know how many issues Jed McKay's been doing. You know, I feel like we've had so many like relaunches and whatever volumes and this and that. So I was like, well, what could possibly happen? And you know, it's continuing a story from last month, where you know Mark was like kind of captured and sort of brainwashed, whatever, and then at the end of the issue, and he's kind of coming out. He's like fighting. He's seeing what's going on. So like this is just continuing. I was like, what could be happening? And then it's like, oh wait a minute, who's really kind of overseeing this stuff? And then it's like, oh, and I don't even want to comment anymore because I might give away what it is. And I must have voiced. I mean, it's crazy. It's big. It's not something I'm super excited about. But okay, so we'll see where this is going to go. It is going to be interesting. Yeah. Then we had Planet She-Hulk number 6, and I love She-Hulk. I haven't been digging this. I don't think I've read issue 5. It's the Marvel Galactic Cosmic Marvel stuff. It's just I struggle with it. Again, if you are enjoying it, awesome. I should read this. Maybe I'll go back. I don't know. The Sentry number 1. I was like, wait, we're getting Sentry back? Like, wait, what, is he alive? What's going on? I'm not even sure like what happened. But it's Paul Jenkins writing. It's like, wait, okay, that's cool because Paul Jenkins, he's a creator, right? Or co-creator. Reading this, it was like, you know, some people talk about like, oh, Sentry's back. You know, where have you been? And you know, he kind of just says like, well, you know, it's out in space. I can't really talk about it but it's really kind of, you know, just a cover story or whatever. So he's back and you know, like Reed's talking to him because, you know, they were such friends and you see like Spider-Man and everything. So as I'm reading this, I was like, when is this taking place? Because now I feel like sometimes Marvel is a little sneaky, you know, like with the Daredevil Punisher comic. I don't think that's, and maybe it's obvious, and I'm being a dope, but it's like, I don't think that Punisher Daredevil comic is in full proper continuity. And I think you just read it like, here's a cool, is it Jimmy Palmiotti writing? Here's a cool Daredevil Punisher story. Just read it and enjoy it. It doesn't have to tie into, you know, whatever, anything else going on. With this Sentry comic, I don't know where this fits in. Because it kind of feels like it's a little separate, or like maybe it was a little bit in the past, or maybe it's a little bit in the future. I don't even know. But I was trying to read it, and the unfortunate thing is, here we go. I was never the biggest Sentry fan. I was always fascinated with the idea how he was introduced, and then, you know, it's weird because he's so massively powerful, but at the same time he has this huge crippling problem with the Void, you know, where, you know, he's got to be careful that he doesn't unleash it. So he's like, you know, he's ticking time bomb or whatever. You know, he's got all this power, but he's got to be careful. And so I was like reading this, and yeah, I don't know. I actually, honestly, I don't even remember. I think I finished reading it, but yeah, it didn't completely hold my interest. Sorcerer Supreme, I flipped through some of this. I didn't read that. Then there's the Mortal Thor. We're getting too Asgardy. I'm not a fan of the Asgard stuff. So we have this character, what's his name? Magdi? Now I totally forgot. At first, you know, we've been seeing him a couple times. I'm like, who the heck is this? I was like, wait, Thor's son? It's like, when the flip, did Thor have a kid? And he's adult? What is going on? I was like, who is this? So I finally, you know, and it was pretty clear. It's like, okay, wait, what? Because, you know, I wasn't reading, what was the last one? It wasn't the Immortal Thor, was it? I didn't read the last volume of Thor because there was too much Asgard stuff. I was like, how's he have a grown-up kid already? So I looked it up. Apparently, this was Thor and Enchantress, because I was like, if this is Thor's kid, who's the mom? Apparently, it's Thor and Enchantress's kid from another Earth, from another dimension or whatever. And apparently, Enchantress kind of tricked Thor into helping her bring this kid over. I don't know what it is. So he's around because Thor is supposed to be dead. Is he dead? I don't know. And Yeah. I'm not a fan. But the other thing that's weird is he has like reddish hair. I was like, why? Why does he have reddish hair if his father is Thor, who is blonde, and his mother is Enchantress, who is blonde? So does blonde plus where's the Punnett square? Figure this out. The recessive genes or whatever. Does blonde plus blonde equal red? Wouldn't it just be like blonde plus blonde equals really blonde? I don't know. We have that. Ultimates 22. I was like, wait, what's going on? Because I thought, the big fight was over. This is more of like a Red Skull story. It's like, who is this Red Skull? What's going on? And at first, there's this one dude who's like, I'm the Red Skull. And Captain America's like, no, you're not. You're not the supreme leader skull or something like that. And they're like, oh, he's not a real supreme guy. But then we see Cap. See, I don't want to spoil things, and I don't know what's out there. The cover might be, I don't know. But there's some stuff with Red Skull, and we see like Cap's past and like Bucky Barnes, and so it was interesting because it's not into this like big story. How many more issues until this is over? And we're taking this other like this detour. It was a good detour. I actually enjoyed this more than some of the recent Ultimates comics. So yeah, I don't know. Ultimate Wolverine, no, I'm not reading that. Wade Wilson Deadpool #2. I started reading this and I really like Deadpool, but sometimes I'm just not in the mood, I guess. And here, Deadpool is it's a little more serious, which I know some people like that, and it's good to mix it up. But part of it is, I don't know if we know why, something happened to his daughter Ellie. So because in the last volume they were fighting side by side and all that, daddy-daughter time. But yeah, it's like, okay, I wasn't excited about this, and I ended up not finishing it. Then there's X-Men 27, Danger Room Part 2. So we got this group who is like targeting the X-Men. Okay, great. We need that. We need to mix things up and everything. But part of me, I'm just like man, it's always got to be like so extremely horrific and everything, and doom and gloom and all that. And sometimes I feel like it's too much. But if you don't have that, then it's going to be boring if the X-Men are just sitting around doing nothing. Because how many issues of them playing softball, do you want? So we got this group, and they basically laid a trap out for the X-Men. And you're looking at this, you're like, wow, man, are they really getting caught off guard? Maybe not. So there's that. It's some interesting things going on there. Then there's X-Men of Apocalypse #3, which I didn't read the first two, so not sure what is going on there, and I don't think I ever will know. At DC Comics, I still need someone to tell me, like, how is Absolute Flash? Because we're at issue 13. I'm curious how things have been going, if it's cool and fun and exciting. So I don't know. So I have no idea what's going on in Absolute Flash, and it's on the list again. Someday I will get caught up. Someday. Wonder Woman #31. It's like every time I read an issue, I'm like, did I miss like the last 2 issues? It's like, what is going on? So we're back. I guess Tom King. I wasn't sure. I was like, is Tom King still writing? Is someone else writing this? Did his run end? But he's back. He's writing this issue, and I guess it's like in the future, because we got Wonder Woman's kid, and we get some glimpses of her growing up, and she's growing up alongside someone else, and it was just okay. I really wanted to like it, but part of it is I feel like I'm missing something, and I get yes, we need to jump forward so we can get to this age point, but because of that, it's like we're missing so much, and it's hard. It was hard for me to be like, okay, they're on this mission, they're doing this, like, okay, whatever. And then it's like, wait, who's this dude here with the beard? Wait, that's Lex Luthor? Spoiler. It's like, what? So I don't know. Batman Superman World's Finest. I forget what issue came out. It's Earth 3 stuff. It's good. It's fine. This is not gonna change the fate of the DC universe or anything like that, but it doesn't have to be. And what's interesting about this, I mentioned this last issue, is it's almost like this is very new reader friendly. And this is where I'm finding it odd because we're seeing a bunch of stuff with like Earth 3 characters, but it's like we've seen them so many times, and it feels like, and I guess the nature of World's Finest, maybe this is the first time Batman and Superman are running into them. Is that what's going on? But see, I don't know if that's necessarily the case because World's Finest was wasn't it brought like up the current time period? So it's not like the flashback stories that we were getting that Mark Waid was writing. So I'm a little unsure what's going on here. Like when exactly is this taking place? And because I haven't been consistently reading all the issues, I don't know if it should be obvious or not. So we're seeing Batman and Superman on Earth 3 trying to figure out like what's going on. They're caught, they're being held captive, and then Riddler saves them. It's like what? Because everything's flipped, and so there's some. We basically see who is, and I don't know if we've ever seen this before. Like who are the Justice League on Earth 3, and would they still be called the Justice League? Because the regular characters are all evil. So yeah, it's interesting. Nightwing number 136. I don't know what it is about. I've been struggling reading these, like the whole clown story, the circus whatever thing. I must have missed something, but so I wasn't into that. And here there's a new threat, I guess, happening. I was like, wait, what is happening? But this is where I get confused because I'm reading this. I was like, there's some cool art. Writing's good. It's not like clunky or anything like that. And it's a different situation, but I couldn't get excited for it. And I don't know. I mean, again, if I'm being totally honest, I don't know if it's because I'm like the DC comics, I'm literally reading them today, the day I am recording this. So this is like the last thing I'm doing is reading the DC comics, trying to read all the comics for the week. And it's hard because, with everything, watching the movies, watching TV shows and working during the day and everything. So I don't know if it's because I've been, this is what I brought up earlier, where I don't know if I'm not liking as many comics now as I used to. Has there been a shift in the writing styles or the quality, or am I just not, am I just getting over it? I don't know what it is, but yeah, so it's like oh crap, this is bad news for Nightwing. Okay, what's the next comic I need to read before? And maybe that's it. It's just like it's because it's like work, so it's not as fun. I don't know. New Titans 33. I haven't been reading that, so I'm not sure. I don't know if this is a new direction, but it's issue 33. I don't know what's happening. I actually read Superman Unlimited. I haven't been reading that. This is issue 11, and I actually saw a spoiler. And you look at the cover, it's like, what's going on? It says, I don't know if this is a part of an ongoing story. Like, I don't know what was in the last issue, like Reign of the Superboys or something like that. So all this stuff with Superboys. And you look at the cover, it's like, oh, wait, there's Little John Kent. Remember him? Like, he was so cute. It was cool. And no offense to, like, kind of adult. I guess he's an adult. He's probably like 18. Adult John Kent. It's like, okay, cool. But how many times have we said, man, DC dropped the ball by aging up Jonathan Kent? It's like, why would you do that? And then the whole fact of like Super Sons is like, that was like such a missed opportunity. Those Super Son books were so much fun. Having Jonathan and Damian, just going on these missions together. They're great. They're fantastic. So yeah, something needs to be done, right? So you should definitely read that issue. Batwoman number 1. I saw like a write-up on this. So, Greg Rucka is back. And I don't know. I mean, Batwoman is a character that I really want to like. I really want to root for. But a lot of the original stories, and they're cool because you kind of got this sort of mysticism. There's like this kind of like this dark stuff going on. But at the same time, there's like a struggle. And a lot of it has been about Kate and her sister Alice, and like this they're twins, right? Growing up, and then her sister died, but then she didn't die, and she became Alice, and then there's this constant fighting, like forever and ever. So with this, it's like, wait, are we like retelling some of this story? And one thing I thought I saw that Greg Rucka's kind of continuing with where he left off, and he may not necessarily be doing what's current. I don't even. So yeah, that was I couldn't read that. Lobo #1. I really wanted to like this because it's Scotty Young's writing and Jorge Corona's art. I'm trying to think if they've worked together before. I'm totally blanking out. But the problem is it's Lobo, and I've moved past beyond Lobo like a long time ago. I used to like him, but then he just became too annoying. And with the art style, it's a little more like in your face. It's a little, I dare say, it's a little more comical. It's a little more absurd. Like Lobo just being super violent, which is what you would want from a Lobo comic. But the idea of like Lobo on a space bike, it's like, how does that work? Have they ever talked about it? Does he have like a force field? Does he just he doesn't need to breathe? Or he doesn't have to worry about the vacuum of space? Is there like a force energy field around him? But yeah, so it's just, I'm sure when the next issue comes out, maybe I'll probably check it out. Only because it's Scotty Young, and I just love what he does, everything he does. It's Lobo, and yeah, I don't care for Lobo. I find him annoying. Then we have Deathstroke the Terminator, #1. So this is by Tony Fleecs. Tony Fleecs he's a super cool guy, and he's a great writer. But it's the hard part here is that Deathstroke's a piece of crap. We see like moments like Wintergreen talking to Rose, to Ravager, and he's like basically just like he's your dad. You can't. She's like. Because Wintergreen says something about him being a mercenary, and she's like, no, he's not a mercenary, he's a killer. And she's kind of like, she doesn't want anything to do with him. And Deathstroke's like on this mission, supposed to kill this client. Wintergreen's like, he's divorced, father of 3, he's kind of, graying temples, or kind of sounds like someone we know. Is that going to be a problem? And Deathstroke's like, why would that be a problem? Because he has no remorse, he doesn't care. It's just and the person he's killing is supposed to be like a whistleblower for some company. So basically, you're killing somebody because some corporate and whatever people want you to kill this guy. It's like, oh, you're cool, you're awesome because you're doing this, just because someone's going to throw some money at you. And it's like, why do you need all this money? What are you going to do with this money? All you do is you go on these jobs killing people. Do you ever like go to the tropical islands and have fancy drinks and just enjoy it? Then there's like some sort of like twist stuff that happens. So we'll see where this is going to go. But again, the writing, Tony Fleecs, great job. I was like, this is going to be interesting. What is he going to bring to the Deathstroke? So definitely like what is going on here now? What does this mean? So definitely shaking some things up. But it's Deathstroke. So it's not the writing, it's the character that's getting me. But I think people are going to enjoy this because, and again, this is back to Deathstroke being Deathstroke. And because of other things that happens, he's going to be more Deathstroke. He's going to get more raw. So watch out. And then the Catwoman came out. I didn't read that. There's also End of Life #2 by Kyle Starks and Steve Pugh. I read the first issue. This is a Vertigo book. I think this is the one I read. I am curious about this. I just didn't get to it. So I have no idea. He's basically this annoying hitman guy, and he ends up taking a gig, and I don't know if they kill a bunch of guards at like this kill hitmen club or kill cult organization. It was like the supreme leader's place. So now this guy's got everyone after him and stuff like that. And he went back home to his dad's, who they don't get along. And But yeah, that's a horrible description. Don't listen. Edit. Just read the comic. I'm sure the second issue is cool too. But that is going to be it. That is comic books for the week. And now the season finale, hopefully the season finale of Wonder Man. So it's over. And again, you probably watched it a couple months ago. When did it come out? Was it December? I really enjoyed this, and as I keep saying, I'm not just saying this to be annoying, but I really enjoyed the one episode per week because it was a lot of fun, and I actually was looking forward to it this every week. It's like now I get to watch another episode of Wonder Man, and I'm so surprised how much I like this show. It's because I've said this before. When I saw the trailer, I'm like, what is going on? It's like this guy. He's an actor. He wants to play Wonder Man. Like, what? And it was just weird. And then it's like, wait, the Mandarin is in it? Trevor Slattery is in it? So while this is in the Marvel Universe, it's not necessarily like a straightforward Marvel show. It's very much more character driven, and I'm not saying like other stuff don't develop the character, but they really focus on like who Simon Williams is, and kudos to everyone involved. I never would have thought that they would make me actually care about Trevor Slattery, because when we had the Mandarin, I'm like, whatever. Ben Kingsley, cool, but yeah. So they did a great job, and I want to know what the heck is going to be next, because this was just really crazy, what happened here. So season 1, episode 8, Yucca Valley. So it starts off back when Simon's dad took him to see Wonder Man. They walk out of the theater talking about the movie. They go and get some burgers after eat, and Sanford, Simon's dad, he says it was fun to be able to see it on the big screen again. And Simon, he asked, who was the guy who played Wonder Man? And his dad's like, Brent Willard, he was in a lot of stuff in the 80s. He's like, I always loved the sunglasses that he wears. He's like, when I was your age, I always wanted a pair so bad. And, Simon's like, yeah, it's so cool, and his jetpack. And then Sanford's like, I can't wait to see you up there one day. And Simon's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, come on. He's like, you were good in 12th Night. And Simon's like, that was just a school play. And Sanford's like, Simon, he's like, I don't mean that you are good in the play the way a parent thinks their kids are good at things. It's like, you are very talented. You have a gift. It's like, if you work hard, there's no limit to what you can do. So, this is part of what drives Simon, and this is why, Wonder Man means so much to him, because it meant a lot to his dad, and his dad, really believed him in and pushed him. So he's like, I have to do this. His dad is no longer with them. He passed away, or he died. I forgot how if they told us how. So he's got this need to do this. So then we see Simon driving home. Trevor walks into the demolished set. Then it cuts to this guy Marco. He tells Cleary, he's like, there was just an explosion on the Wonder Man set, which is so stupid because it could be anything. Cleary's like, let's go. And then a swarm of SUVs head over there. It's like, okay, there's an explosion. Maybe a transformer blew up, not a robot in disguise. Maybe a power thing. Who knows what it could be? Anything. Oh, there's an explosion. I mean, do they have detail, specifics? There was an explosion on the set. Oh no, we better get over there. So all these SUVs go over there, and Simon's driving, starts banging on the steering wheel. He's still frustrated with everything because he found out that Trevor was spying on him, for the damage control. So then the SUVs, they just drive on the lot. I don't know if they just didn't show us talk at the front gate, but they're just going there. It's like, did they get the okay to go in there? I don't know. At Simon's, at his apartment, here's the news reports, saying that new details are emerging about last night's explosion in Hollywood. So they're like, while authorities have yet to release information on the suspect, a manhunt appears to be underway in Hollywood. This is all in connection with the explosion last night on the set of Von Kovac's newest film, Wonder Man. Local authorities have shut down several streets and are advising residents to avoid the area if possible. And he looks out the window. There's a helicopter in the air. And the news reports like, if any of our viewers have any information pertaining to the incident, please contact your local law enforcement hotline. So then we see Simon's mom's in her kitchen. She doesn't have the island where I think there's like a table or something there, because since Simon like destroyed it. Simon calls her, and when she asks like, oh, how he's doing, he says he's good. She knows something's wrong. And she's like, what's wrong? He's like, oh, nothing. He's like, I was just calling to say hello. And she's like, aren't you filming today? He's like, yeah, but I got a little bit of time this morning. She asks him, how's the shoot going? And he says, it's good. He's like, everything's, good. And he's like, how you doing? She's like, I'm fine. She's like, you know me. And he's like, yeah, did Esther finally trim that tree branch? And she's like, no, but I paid to have it done. So, she couldn't complain, but she will anyways. And Simon's like, you shouldn't be paying for that, Mummy. And she's like, oh, it's fine. And then he's like, I love you, Mummy. And he ends the call. And he like covers his mouth. You hear sirens in the distance because he's about to get locked away. He lost his temper, lost his control, blew up the set, destroyed the set, demolished the set, whatever you want to call it. And he knows damage control is onto him. In the SUV, this Marco guy, he tells Clary that he's still in his apartment. And so he's like, okay, make sure everyone clears out of that building. He's like, I don't want any surprises now. He's like, let's go. So Simon's in his kitchen, TV's still on with the news, and they're like, an explosion happened on the set of the feature film Wonder Man, which is set to be a remake of the classic 1980s action movie. It's directed by Oscar-winning director Von Kovac. And then Trevor calls Simon's phone. The news report continues. Fans of the original were excited to see how this classic story would be updated for a modern audience. Simon mutes the TV, answers his phone. He's like, yeah. And Trevor's like, I figured it out. And he's like, figured what out? And Trevor's like, everything. And Simon's like, I'm really happy for you, man. He's like, that is great. And Trevor's like, look, I'll never forgive myself for what I did to you, but I'm making it right. And Simon's like, Trevor, it's too late. They're coming. It's like, it was stupid of me to think that this could end any other way. And Trevor's like, it will all make sense shortly. It's like, I don't have much time. So then while they talk, police arrive outside. There's armed officers and everything. They're moving. And Trevor's like, I just wanted to say that I had a lot of opportunities in my life. I managed to bungle each and every one of them. I'm not going to let you lose the only one you'll get. You've been a true friend. And Simon's like, wait. He's like, what did you do? And Trevor's like, what I should have done a long time ago. So then do we see they're going up the stairs? So it's like they're outside. Are they about to bust down Simon's door? Trevor's like, so you should have done what you should have done a long time ago. It's like, take responsibility for my own mistakes. And Simon's like, no, it wasn't your mistake. It was mine. Trevor's like, promise me you'll live your life to the fullest. Savor every moment, Simon. It's like, this movie is your shot. Bloody well enjoy it. He's like, goodbye, Simon. The call ends. Simon turns around, waits for the officers to bust in. He unmutes the TV. Details are available to us about this incident, but we can report in a new video that has been sent to news maybe they said it wasn't available. A video that was sent to news organizations around the country, including our own station here in Los Angeles. And it's like, I'd like to warn viewers that they may find it upsetting. So then we see a shot outside Trevor's apartment building. And then the footage starts. There's like some symbols. You see like soldiers. And then there's the Mandarin, like a shadow. He's got the jacket on, sunglasses, hair in a bun. America, did you miss me? I have another lesson for you. And we see like more footage of soldiers and stuff like that. On April 10th, 1953, Alan Dulles, the newly appointed director of the CIA, claimed the Soviets had engaged in a new type of combat with America, a battle over men's minds. Dulles dubbed it brain warfare. And we see like Von Kovac and other crew like watching. Control the mind, control the narrative, and you control the public. Janelle's like listening on her car. That's why the United States government has worked hand in glove with the entertainment industry to shape the way the public views the world. And we see like Esteban and Jaden, the candy makers, they're like watching on their phone. Well, last night in the heart of the indoctrination factory, I struck back. That explosion on the set of Hollywood's latest brainwashing superhero opiate, Wonder Man, I did that. And then there's a symbol, and Simon exhales softly. He's like, Trev. Outside Trevor's apartment, police are like banging on the door, demanding that he opens up. Trevor stands in front of a mirror. He's like in the costume and everything. He's getting ready. They say, he's like, we have a warrant. We know you're in there. So he opens the door. He has like the rings on everything, hair's up, sunglasses, and all that stuff. What took you imbeciles so long? Outside, a guy says to Cleary, he's like, quite the high-profile arrest. And he's like, well, not the one we wanted, but there's no denying after this, Slattery will need a state-of-the-art high-security prison. He's like, hey, a body's a body. So this is another reason why Cleary's like such a piece of crap. He doesn't care about anything. It's just that they need numbers. They need prisoners for the raft or whatever, so they can keep the budget going. So it's like if they don't have prisoners, then they're gonna have to shut it down, which is just so stupid. But yeah, is it like that really? He gets a call from he's like, Deputy Secretary, how are you? He's like, thank you, sir. He's like, I had my suspicions the whole time. He's like, well, it's your leadership that set the tone for this whole department. He's like, that's right, sir. And he's like, excuse me, can I call you back? Trevor's being brought out. He's like, go ahead, throw me in jail. I'll only break out again. And Cleary tells the two officers, he's like, I'll take it from here. And he's like, come with me. He's like, I'm going to let you take the fall, Slattery, but my eyes are on Simon. He's like, I do not know what the hell you are talking about, you dolt. He's like, drop the act. And he's like, Slattery was the act. Get it through your thick skull. I have always been the Mandarin, and you never saw me coming. And they put him in an SUV. Simon's like watching news. We are now getting word from local authorities, there's a knock on his door, that there were explosives found and he mutes the TV. He opens the door, and he's like, what are you doing here? It's Terrell, the guy who not his assistant, but the guy who ran a bunch of stuff to him, whatever. He's like, we saw the news. He's like, I know it's a lot, and I know how tight you and Trev were. He's like, yeah. And he's like, so apparently Von Kovac never misses a day shoot. It's like they're inviting you to set. So they arrive somewhere. I don't know if it's Von Kovac's. It's somewhere like kind of big and fancy. How you feeling, Simon? And he's like, yeah, I know. Has been a difficult morning. And he's like, you could say that. And he's like, but it would be good to get your coverage. Otherwise, we lose the whole day. He's like, right. He's like, everything you are feeling, that's what true art is made of. Use it. Let your misery drive the bus. Remember, the only friend you've ever had in this world just betrayed you. You are about to say goodbye for the last time. And you had a dream last night that your mother was cooking a hedgehog for supper. He's like, a hedgehog? He's like, yes, I think so. I'd like to see what that inspires. And he's like, okay, Simon, you can do this. You were born to play this role. And then the glasses guy comes up to him. He's like, I found him. And Simon, he looks like, it's like, hold up. He's like, how close are these to the original? And the guy's like, they are the originals. He's like, this is the pair that Brent Willard wore. A buddy who worked at Hollywood Pictures was able to track him down for me. Then he like just walks off. So Simon puts him on, takes off his robe. He's sanding his costume. It's like whatever black leather or something. It's got the red logo W thing. So he stands in his costume. Von Kovac, he yells, action. And then this lady Eileen is reading because I guess since Trevor's not there, so he can't read. So he's reading with her. They're just filming him. So she's like, General Brulard doesn't give a damn about the human cost. How can one find a vulnerability in a monster without shame? And he's like, we only got one shot at this, Barnaby. It's not the time for games and riddles. So she's like, I agree. It's too late already. That's what I've been trying to tell you. And Simon's like, I can't accept that. I can't give up on these people, this planet. And she's like, what you can or can't accept no longer matters. He's like, that's not true. If we work together, and she's like, we were never together. Then it cuts to the scene in the movies screen in a packed theater. He's like, that's BS. He's like, put the gun away. So now there's a different guy playing Barnaby. And who is the guy? Joe Pantoliano, which is horrible because since, he kind of supposedly stole the first leading role against Trevor on the hospital show. So he's like, he found my price, Wonder Man. Everybody has one. I just pray you never have to learn yours. And the audience, Simon's like, Mummy, she sadly asks him, how could Barnaby do that to you? And he like chuckles. And on screen, Wonder Man's like, he's gotten into your head. You're better than this, Barnaby. And Barnaby's like, believe what you want to believe. General Bulliard has the coordinates. He's coming for you. So Simon like in the audience looks at his brother, and I don't know if he's like wiping his eye or something like that, but then Wonder Man is like, I'm never going to give up. I don't care about the cost. And Barnaby's like, then it's your funeral. And Barnaby like walks away. And then his mom's like, I can't believe that's my son up there. And Simon like smiles at her. And Wonder Man's like, I'm not going to wait to die. There's no stopping Rule Yard, or something like that. And people are talking about the movie on their way out. One guy says, that's like, oh, that final fight scene was bananas. And his date's like, I heard it was all shot practically. And, and then we see Von Kovac walks out with Simon. I don't believe in doing sequels to anything. And Simon's like, same. He's like, it's a losing game. There is no way we could ever top that picture. And Simon like chuckles. And he's like, impossible. And Von Kovac's like, but maybe it's worth thinking about how we could do it if we were to do it. And Simon's like, hey, we should talk about it. He's like, I'll set something up. And Joe Pantoliano walks out. He's like, VK. And Von Kovac's like, hey, you were terrific. And he's like, Simon, now look, like, please remember what I told you, all right? Commercial real estate, it's going to blow up. It's like, you'll get properties for 20 cents on the dollar. And he's like, all right. Janelle talks to Joey Pants later, and she's like, why don't you call my office? You set something up. And Joe's like, I've been with Barry for 20 years. And she's like, Barry doesn't have to know. Plus, we're just talking, right? Like, yeah, she's talking, he's talking. And Joe's like, everyone talks. And she's like, everyone eats. And Joe Pantoliano's like, yeah, and if you're buying. And she's like, mm-hmm. And he's like, I'll call you tomorrow. Simon walks up to his brother, Eric, and Eric's like, hey, that was really good. And Simon's like, oh, thanks. Eric's like, no, I mean, you were really good. And Simon's like, you think so? And he's like, yes. And they like hug. He's like, thanks, brother. And Eric's like, I'm excited for you. I just hope you don't forget about us little people in Pacoima. It's not at your big shot. Simon chuckles. He's like, never that. And then Eric's like, I wish Dad could have been here to see that. And he's like, yeah. And he just gives kind of like a half shrug. Outside, people are cheering, chanting, Wonder Man, Wonder Man. Simon walks down like the red carpet. He's wearing the sunglasses. He looks at the crowd. People are like holding signs. There's like some people like dressed as Wonder Man or whatever. Janelle walks up and she's like, oh my God, is it Simon? It's Simon Williams. Hello, superstar. She gives him a hug. And she like, asks, how does it feel? And he's like, I'm just trying to enjoy it, savor the moment. And she's like, good, because you earned it. You look so handsome. He's like, thank you. And he's like, any news from Trev? And she's like, Simon, I'm sorry. It's a black box. It's like wherever they send him, it's not the kind of place that you can ever get out of. But on the bright side, he was right about, waiting for the next script. You got your own pick of projects now. So what's going to be, Wonder Man? The chanting continues and then the scene cuts. So it's like, is that it? Is that the end? And then we see it kind of like the Hollywood Hills or somewhere like Hills, whatever. And then Mamas Don't Let Your Babies Grow Up to Be Cowboys plays by the Highwaymen. There's different shots, different locations. Then we see Simon in like this old bar. And this guy asks, like, actors actually do research? And he's like, I do. He's like, I'm a big believer in that. And the guy's like, huh. He's like, so is the director that I'm working with? And the guy's like, who's that? He's like, that I cannot say. So the guy's like, how would this work? He's like, I would just kind of hang out with you and you live your life exactly as you normally would. I would just stand back and watch. The guy's like, are you sure you got the right guy? And Simon chuckles. The guy's like, Chuck Eastman? And you just what? You want to watch me do karaoke on Thursday nights here at Murphy's? Buy my toilet paper at the Slater Bros? And Simon's like, yes, I do. That's the idea. Everything you normally do, it may seem mundane to you, but it's not to me. It'll really help me to fill in all the little details, make my performance feel real. I was like, all right. If I bore you to death, you can't say that I didn't warn you. He's like, fair enough. He like chuckles. He's like, and if you don't mind, I'm trying to keep a low profile. And the guy's like, well, you come to the right place for that. And Simon's like, yeah, the studios, they get a little protective about their projects. They don't want any news getting out. So if you don't mind, I'd like to keep a lid on the fact that we're doing this. And he's like, of course. He's like, okay. Then they're at Chuck's place. He's talking to his wife, Bonnie. She's like, I don't understand. And Chuck's like, he said, just treat him like a normal person. She's like, but he's not normal. He's Wonder Man. It's like, how do I not freak out that Wonder Man's at our dinner table? He's like, you'll get used to it, I promise. So Simon's eating, they're all at the table. They have two kids, like son and daughter. Simon's like, oh, it's delicious. And Bonnie's like, oh, it's just what I would normally make. The kid's like, snicker. She's like, what? The son's like, come on. He's like, we haven't had pot roast since Grandma was in town. And she's like, well, we've got company. The daughter's like, do you know Dua Lipa? And he like chuckles. And the dad's like, Lucy. And, he wags his finger. And Simon's like, no, it's okay. He's like, no, I don't. I don't know Dua Lipa, but I like her music. And look, I think it's okay to admit this isn't normal. I haven't really done anything like this before. And to be honest, even I think it's a little weird. So Bonnie's like, oh, thank God you said it. The boy's like, does that mean I can tell everyone at school that I had dinner with Simon Williams? And Simon's like, no, you cannot. Then we see Simon with Chuck at the doctor's. The doc asks if the Paxil's been working, so it's antidepressants. Simon's like taking notes. And the doctor says, time to exercise. And the doc's like, he's got to take his health seriously. Later, Chuck's is looking at like a car engine outside with Simon. He says it started a few years ago. Job's been getting to him. He's like, you can't be exposed to those kind of people every day and not be affected. And Lucy got sick, real sick. Turns out it was salmonella from playing with the neighbor's chicken, but didn't know it at the time. The doctor wouldn't prescribe an antibiotic till we knew for sure what it was. And Simon's like, was she in the hospital? Chuck sighs. He's like, yeah, in and out. Every dumb doctor assumed it was something else. Gave her a CAT scan for nothing. That wasn't cheap. And he's like, yeah, still trying to pay off those damn medical bills. Simon's like, that must have been hard. And Chuck's like, yeah, it was. She was skin and bones, couldn't keep nothing down. It's like, I've never seen anyone look like that. There wasn't anything I could do to help her. I already wasn't sleeping much. Stress dreams are a killer. Next day they go running, and then Chuck's out of breath, and he has to stop. He apologizes to Simon for slowing him down. And Simon's like, it's all right. It's like, I'm just glad we got you out and moving. And Chuck's like, I bet you're used to running like 10 miles with some fancy Hollywood trainer, huh? And he's like, yeah, kinda. He's like, wait, how are you going to play me and if you keep trying to get me into shape? It's like, if you're going to be Chuck Eastman, you got to make him a poopy runner or something like that. He's like, you get me in any kind of shape at all, you've ruined the character. He's like, my character. And Simon's like, yeah, it might be worth the risk. And then Chuck's like, look, you know how I've been wanting to, how you've been wanting to come with me to work? He's like, see the kind of stress I'm dealing with there firsthand? And Simon's like, yeah. He's like, well, it took some doing, but I want you to be good in your movies, even though you haven't told me a GD thing about it. He's like, I can't, Chuck. Next day, I don't know, or later, they're driving, and Chuck's like, look, I had to fudge some paperwork and give you a false name, so you're our new trainee named Alfonso, if anyone asks. And he's like, Alfonso? And he's like, what? I'm not a writer. He's like, I don't know. Now you'll finally see what keeps me up at night. So they drive down a dirt road. There's a big structure in the distance. They walk inside like in uniform. Chuck tells the check-in guys that Simon's new trainee, and the guy's like, first day, and Simon's like, yep. He's like, Chuck's been showing me the ropes. And the guy's like, it's like, then you're screwed. And he's like, oh no, Chuck's been great, and I'm grateful for the steady gig. It's rough out there. Then, in case you didn't figure it out already, we see big letters on the wall, DODC, Department of Damage Control. So as they walk, a little golf cart goes by with Cleary and the deputy secretary in the back. And it's like, wait, did Cleary see Simon? It's like, that would have been like horrible timing. But he kind of it almost looks like he's distracted for a second. Then he asks the guy, I think it was the deputy director, he asks him to repeat what he was saying. Then this other guy stops them in the hall as they pass. And he's stops Simon and Chuck. The guy's like, why do you look so familiar? Simon's like, he's like, you got me. You must have seen me at Murphy's on Thursday doing karaoke. And the guy's like, just looks at him. He's like, mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys. And the guy's like, oh yeah, I love that song. And Simon's like, oh, it's the best. And the guy's like, all right. So they continue. And Simon's like, now, where are y'all hiding the bathrooms around here? And Chuck's like, down the hallway on your second left. So the halls are dark, long, and empty. And then it cuts to Cleary. He's like, so I had a hunch, and I had the lab run another test on the soundstage, but this time on an ionic level. We see Simon's walks, and this camera glitches out as he walks. So he's doing something to it. He did something to it. Chuck's on the phone with his wife. He's like, I don't understand. It's like, it's a mistake, right? And Bonnie's like, no, I called the bank. It's a real deposit. It's just anonymous. And Chuck's like, how much? She's like, it's a lot, Chuck. Enough to finally quit that damn job. Cleary is like, and what we discovered is that the ions were disrupted in every single thing that we tested. If he's capable of harnessing ionic energy, then Simon Williams is an extraordinary threat or asset. And Simon like walks past like some cells, and then he stops at one, and he's like, who are you writing? It's Trevor. And Trevor looks up, he's writing, and he like does a double take. Simon? And he's like, Alfonso, actually. And he holds up an ID, his ID badge. He's like, it's a long story. Trevor like chuckles. He's like, how'd the movie come out? And he's like, it would have been better with you as Barnaby. And Trevor's like, so who replaced me? And he's like, oh, it's not important. And he's like, Pierce Bronson? And Simon's like, let's not get into it. He's like, De Niro? And he's like, no. Antonio Banderas? Like, we're always getting mistaken for each other. And then Simon grabs a cell door, like vibrates it, tears it off the hinges, tosses it aside. It's like, it's a little loud there, but doesn't matter because Cleary and Deputy Dude, there's big alarms going out. He's like, there's been a breach. Simon's like, we should probably get out of here. And Trevor's like, this is a terrible idea. You're free and clear. That was the whole point. And Simon's like, he's like, I'm not just going to leave you in here to rot, Trev. And Trevor's like, they'll catch you. He's like, let me worry about that. And then he's like, that hallway's crawling with guards. And Simon's like, and motion sensors, biometric security. And Trevor's like, so we agree? And Simon's like, but we're not going that way. And Trevor's like, which way are we going? He breathes deeply. And Trevor's like, what are you doing? So we see like his hands kind of ripple with energy. And then like all of him is kind of rippling. And then the song Everybody's Talking by Harry Nilsson plays. Simon grabs Trevor around the waist. He's like, oh. And then the whole cell is vibrating. His eyes are glowing red. They both look up. We see a shot from the outside. They shoot straight up. Take off like a rocket. It goes up. It's like one of those where it goes straight up and then shoom, like takes off, the other direction. And Cleary, the deputy director, the others, they run over to the cell. They see like a little crater in the hole in the ceiling. And that's the end. So I don't know. I don't think they can prove that it was Simon, because if the cameras were glitching out, was there any footage? Did they all glitch out? I don't know. My big question. So obviously, he deposited money into Chuck's account, for getting him in there. The question is Chuck going to get in any trouble? Are they going to be able to put it, two and two together? Hopefully not. What does this mean? Because I don't know if Simon. I think they're saying, oh, everyone's going to be in Secret Wars. Simon, Wonder Man. I don't know if he's going to be in there because it doesn't make sense. There's no real connection, but you never know. So hopefully we get a season 2 because, like I said, this was great. So that was Wonder Man. You should check it out. It's something different. Can't complain like, oh, Marvel's doing the same thing, blah, blah, blah. No, this was different. This was good. That was Wonder Man. Now it's time for Monarch, Legacy of Monsters, and it's like bad news for everyone. A lot of bad things happening. And it's just like, oh man, something else happened. So I'm digging the show, and I appreciate just how this ties everything together. And I don't know if people like understand that. Going back to the 2004, no, whatever the Godzilla movie that we had, how it ties into that, the semi-recent one, and just and Kong Skull Island and just the other stuff and all these Titans, and I dig it, and I love how they have Wyatt and Kurt Russell playing the same character, and we got the 2 different timelines and flashbacks or whatever in the present, and yeah, so I'm digging the show, and I really hope people are watching this because it's quality stuff. And also, in case people weren't aware, like I don't know if he's still involved in doing anything, but Matt Fraction, who we all comic book people, we love Matt Fraction, right? He co-developed this show, so I mean, there's a lot of great stuff here. So it starts off. Shaw and Kai are panicking. They have to get to a boat. There's this is in the past. The big Titan roars. We saw this. It destroys like this shack. They go flying. They're blown over. The building smashed. Shaw gets up, there's like some rubble. He helps Kai, she's a little dazed. And then the Titan, it has like some spikes, and they're kind of like pinkish reddish, glow to them, kind of how Godzilla has like the blue glow. Then Kai rushes up and goes down to the dock. There's little critters, scurries down, goes into water towards the Titan and into water, and a bunch of others like swim towards it. The spikes now turn blue instead of pink. Kai takes some pictures. Shaw tells her, hurry up, and locals are like starting to come out after him. And she's like, poor Billy. And Shaw's like, poor Billy? He's like, poor Billy? He's like, what do you mean? She's like, he missed it. He's like, yeah, that's not all he missed. And, he looks at the locals, and then he reaches into his jacket and he curses. He says he lost his gun in there. So they move and then they get cut off. Like several men surround him. One's says to give the camera. So Shaw translates. She asks if he really thinks that he's going to let him go if they give him the camera. Shaw says just to give it to him. Lucia also she's like, give him the camera. And she says to the guy to let them go. So, Lucia saying, just let them go. It's like no one will believe them and they'll think they're crazy. But then a guy says that someone will believe and they'll come and they'll see what these crazies are saying is true, and it'll defile their land and what will happen to their lives, to their fishing, with their food, with their fish. Then someone starts is pulling out a blade. So the guy grabs for the camera with the blade. He cuts Kai on the arm, and then Shaw grabs him and he bam, punches him solid punch to the face, and he hits him in the gut, and the guy goes down. Shaw grabs him in the blade, holds it to his neck, tells everyone stay back. And he's they're backing up a little bit, but there's still a lot of people. And he tells Kai, he's run. Then at the port of Tokyo, and the president, Kate she got off the outpost ship. May runs after her, and she's like, I'm assuming you're going out to grab a bite. And Kate's like, I need to go home. Then May is like, were you gonna leave without saying anything? And Kate's like, I'm only causing trouble here. She's like, I don't belong. And May's like, no. She's like, I don't believe that. And she's like, I think you have a purpose here. And Kate's like, no, I don't. It's like, I bought into all of Dad's crap about this being my legacy. And May's like, yeah, maybe this is your legacy. Kate, you looked Godzilla in the eye. You went to Axis Mundi and back. It's like, I saw you. And Kate's like, yeah. And what happens when people find out I'm the person that released a new Titan into the world? I think this is just what's best for everyone. And May's like, well then, you don't know what's best for me. And she turns and walks away. On the outpost with the rest of the main characters, Shaw is like, any idea how long it'll be before the ship can get underway? Tim says that, they're not going to know how much damage was done until to the engines until they get engineers on board. And he's like, in the meantime, it's been 3 years since Godzilla, and we have our first Titan loose in the world. Barris and the rest of the board want to keep things under wraps to avoid panic. And the last thing we need out there is, mass hysteria or something like that. And Shaw's like, well, how exactly are we supposed to hide a Titan? Hiroshi's like, what if we could? And, he looks at his mom and kind of gives him a nod. And Shaw's like, you two have something? And she's like, well, what if instead of waiting for it to appear, we could lead it where we want it to go? Kentaro, I don't know if Hiroshi, someone's like, away from the population as well, they work on a strategy to deal with it. Kai's like, the Titan turned to follow us because the scarab emitted a sound. That's what the Titan responded to. And Shaw's like, if we could replicate the sound, Hiroshi's like, I believe I can reconfigure the emitter coils on a Suzuki device to emulate the frequency. And Kentaro's like, well, except Kong destroyed your device on Skull Island. And then Hiroshi's like, I have another one. It's a prototype in my workshop in Tokyo, just outside of Shibuya. Tim's like, what? It's like, that's amazing. Okay, so we build a Titan dog whistle and we lure it out there into Southern Ocean somewhere, and then what? Shaw's like, one thing at a time. First thing we need to do is get that prototype. Then Tim is told that he's needed in the command center. So there's this guy, in a big computer room, having his men attach computers, laptops and stuff to the system. Says they'll need command override access to the whole system. Tim comes up. He's like, hey, excuse me. Hi. He's like, can I help you? And the guy's like, I'm guessing by the air command and that beard that you must be Tom. He's like, Tim, actually. He's like, Tim, right. So I'm sure he did that on purpose, right? And he's like, Jason, what was his name? Jason Trisop or something like that, head of special projects, Apex Cybernetics. And Tim's like, wait a minute, Apex? He's like, we weren't expecting you. He's like, yeah, we need to get a jump on a situation. So I had a chopper or I hopped the chopper. It's like, there's a Titan on the loose. And Tim's like, oh, where? You guys are upgrading the sensor system? And Jason's like, well, you could call it an upgrade if you say dropping a Ferrari engine into a Pinto is a tune-up. It's like, what we're developing is an ultra long-wave sonar system that can piggyback to your arrays and extend our range and sensitivity. It's like, this is the best chance you have at finding that Titan. Tim's like, okay, great. Just try to stay out of our way. It's like, I'll have somebody let you know where the coffee machine is. And Jason's like, I'm afraid it's more than that. Since you lost the trail of the Titan, my team's been granted operational control of Outpost 18 on a temporary basis only. And Tim's like, what? No. It's like, that doesn't make any sense. I'm going to call Director Barris. Like, that's not right. And he's like, give him my regards, yeah? So Tim's like complaining later. He's like on a video call. He's like, they're a private corporation. How is Apex in charge of a Monarch operation? So Barris is like, he tells Tim that he had orders to track down that Titan, and Tim loudly says, like, and I followed it. He's like, but then I had to decide between that and saving those ships. Barris is like, and now we don't know when or where that thing's going to turn up. Tim's like, I made the right call. Barris is like, you did? Or was it Leland Shaw? And Tim's like, look, sir, whether Monarch wants to admit it or not, Colonel Shaw has a lifetime of experience. And Barris like cuts off. He's like, he's a criminal. And Tim's like, we would be idiots not to listen to him and Dr. Randa. Do I need to remind you what happened when there's a Titan rampaging through a city? And he's like, are you through? He pounds his desk like a kid throwing a temper tantrum. And Tim calmly says, well, I don't know. You tell me, am I? And Barris is like, the jury's still out. But here's the deal, Tim. Apex has offered us access to technology that may allow us to find that Titan before the public finds out what's happening here. And to that end, I'm going to need you to support them and give them any kind of assistance they need, and to hand over Leland Shaw and Dr. Kaiko Randa before they create yet another catastrophic event for Monarch and the entire world. He's like, but Dr. Randa he's like, without delay. And I trust that message didn't come through garbled. And he like ends the transmission. So as they're walking the halls, Kai's like, who are Apex Cybernetics? And Tim says that they're a technology corporation, biomedical research, neural implants, real bleeding edge stuff. And Shaw's like, so Monarch's farming out its mission to big tech now? And Tim's like, no, not the mission, just the hardware. Apex has deep pockets. They're willing to fund the operation on Skull Island. We wouldn't have gotten you guys back without them. And Shaw's like, well, so far I love these guys, but I don't know what's in it for them. And Tim's like, well, I can tell you it's not for humanitarian reasons, but if there's money to be made in the Titan business, they're all in. And Monarch can't afford the mass panic. They gotta, keep this under wraps. So Tim takes them like to the boats, the little like whatever launch things. So he's like, be careful out there. And as soon as they know you're gone, they're gonna have half of Tokyo looking for you. And then Tim asks Hiroshi, he's like, hey, do you really think this Titan sound plan of yours is going to work? He just like grabs Tim's shoulder and he kind of like nods or whatever. Then in Shibuya, Tokyo, Shaw, Kai, Hiroshi, and Kentaro are walking the Tokyo streets. But then, there's a shot of camera. So there's like cameras all over, CCTV, whatever you want to call it, in the streets. Kai looks a little overwhelmed because, she probably hasn't seen a city, like this. She had no idea. Then they see like a huge like wanted digital sign on top of a building with like Shaw and Kai. And Shaw's like, that didn't take long. So they reach Hiroshi's workshop. They say that if they get this thing going, then they can lead it to the middle of the ocean so Monarch can deal with it. So it's a metal sphere, like maybe like 4 times as large as a basketball or whatever. Shaw asks, how did he get it through customs? And Hiroshi's like, many bribes. Kai's like, you built this? And he's like, based on Dr. Suzuki's original designs. She's like, his Titan phone, it's so much smaller than his. And Hiroshi's like, but considerably more powerful. And then Kentaro's like, he used it to awaken Godzilla. And Kai's like, you call Godzilla? And Hiroshi's like, Godzilla was more of a side effect. I was trying to open a rift to build upon yours and Bill's old theories about the Titan network. And Shaw's like, right, so we know this thing can call on Godzilla, but what's the process here? And Hiroshi's like, we will need to modify the gamma emulator to broadcast the Titan acoustic signature we picked up on Outpost 18. And then Kai's like, Titan song. Kentaro's like, pretty extensive modification. And Shaw's like, you say extensive and I hear time consuming. He's like, we got a Monarch on our tail and a Titan on the land, so how can we help move things along here? And then Hiroshi's like, Kentaro and I will need to collect some components, but I could use the original wiring diagrams from my office. And Kentaro's like, think you guys can handle it? Shaw's like, just need an address. We've handled worse. And Hiroshi like throws him a set of keys. So in the past, we see Shaw and Kai like running through like trees. All the locals, they're hiding from them. They hide behind some like tiny trees. And Shaw like asks for the camera, and she's like, "We need that film." And then he's like, "Give me the camera." And he takes the film out. And I don't know if he put another roll in there or not, but he gives Kai the roll that he took, and then they like hide in this ditch. Someone finally finds a camera, because some people kind of walked over it, and I think it's like the main bard dude, of course. So he holds it up, and Lucia, I don't know if she saw it too, but she's like, we should go that way or whatever, because she's like, there's nothing this way. And the dude, she's like listening very carefully, and the Shaw and Kai are just like in this ditch, like trying not to move. They finally start walking the other way, but then Kai's foot slips and makes a noise. Lucia hears it, and she like spins around. And then she like looks down the ditch, and she like sees her legs kind of sticking out, and she decides to cover for them. So she runs like to the others, so she doesn't tell them. Shaw tells Kai like everything's fine, they're gonna be okay. In the present, May's eating ramen or something, and Tim sits down, and she takes off her big headphones, so he thanks her for meeting him. And she asks, shouldn't he be at Outpost 18 monitoring GTAS or whatever? Tim's like, well, most likely the only thing they're going to need him for anytime soon is an exit interview. So she's like, let me guess. You devoted your life to something, poured your heart and soul into it, just to wake up one day and realize you might have made a bad bet. So he raises a cup of sake to disappointment. Then he asks her, what's she going to do now? And she's like, I'm going to eat noodles and get drunk. And Tim's like, is there a phase 2? She's like, there's an open at Monarch, but I haven't checked out the perks package yet. So, and Tim's like, well, I'm sure it's not nearly as good as Apex. And she's like, no, Apex has a barista. And Tim's like, we got the pods. He's like, listen, maybe you shouldn't be looking past it. Maybe we should be looking at it. This whole technical makeover of Outpost 18. He's like, we can use their tech, great, but handing over a Monarch asset to a private company doesn't make sense. And she's like, yeah, I know. Welcome to the free market. He's like, I'm telling you, they're up to something. He's like, we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg. He's like, I just think that it would be nice to know someone on that particular iceberg. And she's like, all right, I'm feeling like a little drunk, so you need to stop talking metaphors and just tell me what you want. Tim's like, what I want is for you to ask Brenda Holland for a job. I want you to be a mole at Apex. And she's like, so what? You think that they're up to something? And he's like, I don't know, but they seem pretty damn invested in it. If they're up to something, it could start another G-Day. So May's like, so how would this work? And Tim's like, how would you get the job in the first place? She's like, well, the best way to get a job is to have something they need, and that I have. So at first, I don't know, maybe it's not the next day, because then it's San Francisco, so they're obviously in a time difference, so they're behind, because it's like daytime. Kate gets out of a taxi. She like looks at the overgrown city in the distance. It still must be boarded off, and vegetation is growing on top of buildings and that, because it's all unstable. She walks into like her old place, and mom's like there in the kitchen, and she's like, hi Mom. And she's like, oh my God. She like hugs her, just tears. And Kate's like, I'm back. So she has a meal with her mom, and I forget if the guy's like her boyfriend or her new husband or whatever. And Mom, she's like, I can't believe you didn't let us pick you up at the airport. And the dude's like, that's my specialty or whatever. But Kate says that she got on an earlier flight and wanted to see the city. So the dude, I don't remember his name, he asked if she can tell them anything about where she was, or is it all top secret? Or Kate's mom says that I'm sure Kate will tell us all about her adventures in her own time. And Kate says, she's like, it doesn't even feel real. Like for her, she's only been gone a few days. And Mom asks, like, is there really another world where those creatures live? The dude's like, and you were there? And Kate's like, there and back again. So then her mom is like, what now? And Kate's like, I don't know. Her mom says that she go see, do whatever she needs to. Then she says that she saw Martin, a couple of her teacher friends the other day. Maybe they should all get together. And she doesn't say anything. She's like, her mom's like, whatever happened to you, Kate, it's over now. So Shaw and Kai are looking for the wiring diagrams that Hiroshi needs to get out of there. So Kai closes the blinds. Shaw comments how it helped if Hiroshi ever labeled anything. Kai says that he hasn't changed, and she looks at photos on his desk. There's him with Kate and her mom. Then there's one of him and Kentaro and his mom. Then there's a third picture. I wasn't sure who was in that. And she's like, wait, did Kate and Kentaro, do they have different mothers? And Shaw's like, yeah. And then she's like, was Hiroshi a widower, divorced? And he's like, it's not my story to tell. And she's like, I just want to know, is he all right? Is he happy? And Shaw's like, ask him. And she's like, I guess we all have our secrets. And then he gives her a look. So it's like, what's that mean? In the past, they're still walking in trees. It's raining now. Shaw tells her to hold on. There's a shack. And he says that they should take cover in there and he can dress her wound. So inside, I don't know why there's this shack in the middle. There's a bed, a stove, and stuff like it in there. He looks at her cut and he says the guy got her good, so he's got to dress that. He looks for supplies, whatever. And she says, worst comes to worst, he can get the photos back to Billy. And he's like, yeah, that ought to go over well. It's like, I lost your girl, pal, but hey, here's some glamour shots of the thing that killed her. So he found a bottle of alcohol and says, this is going to hurt. So he puts some on a rag and she kind of winces. And then she asks, how's it look? And he's like, not good. He's like, I don't think you're going to make it. And she's like, oh, impressive bedside manner. He's like, yeah, well, I'm not the doctor. And then she's like, Lee, what happened back there? He's like, I don't know. He's like, looked like that creature came for those scarab things and then we just got caught in the middle. And she's like, you know what I mean, when we danced. And he's like, yeah, we danced. She's like, I thought we were both past that. He's like, I know. She's like, we both agreed. He's like, I know. Look, I don't know what you thought you felt, but it wasn't real. You're with Billy, you love each other, and that's the way it is. It was the wine, so no more wine. Kate's in a taxi outside a steak and seafood place or whatever. She's got a text from Martin, her former co-worker or whatever, and he said that, he texted they got a booth in the back, jalapeno poppers and skinny margaritas incoming, woo! She looks at all the people sitting at the tables, there's some open areas, and then she says to the driver, she's like, you know what, I think I want to go somewhere else. In Pensacola, Florida, May meets with Brenda, and so she's like, hello, Cora, which is May's real name. And she's like, hey, Brenda, how are you? And she's like, I have to admit, I was surprised to get your call. Have you finally decided to start taking yourself seriously? And May's like, yeah, I want to try. And she's like, try won't cut it, Cora. And May's like, I'm serious. After everything that I've been through, I feel like I need to have some type of purpose. I want to use what I know to stop Titan X. And she's like, last time we worked together, you tried to burn my house down. That can't happen again, Cora. And she's like, I know, I understand. You erased all the copies of the code? No? And May's like, I erased all of your copies of the code. And she's like, come inside. Monarch can't keep their secret hidden forever, Cora. The world will find out. It's about what happens next. So Hiroshi asks Kentaro if Kate's called him, and he's like, no. And Hiroshi's like, Kate is our family. And Kentaro says, she feels it's all her fault. Then he says, she made her choice. And Hiroshi's like, Kentaro, we all make mistakes, but that doesn't mean we need to bear the consequences alone. And then he's like, looks at some stuff, he's like, these will do nicely. Then there's Hiro. And then Hiro's like, what are you wearing? Did you take that hat from my office? So Kai's wearing a baseball hat and a trench coat, and Shaw's wearing a brown leather jacket and a black cap and sunglasses. And Shaw's like, a city with 40 million cameras. And Hiro's like, so you got them? He's like, took us a little while to decipher your filing system, but yeah. He's like, you? So they have everything that they need. Shaw says they're a little exposed out there, so they should go back to the shop. They should split up. So he tells Kentaro, he's like, why don't, he go with him, and they'll scout up ahead. So obviously he's doing it so Kai can ask Hiroshi some questions. So as Hiro and Kai walk, she's like, your office reminds me so much of your father's, how he kept his space. And Hiroshi's like, I don't really remember. And she's like, it used to drive me crazy. It's impossible to find anything. She's like, I miss it more than anything. Hiroshi's like, this must be difficult for you. And then she's like, I saw photos. of Kentaro's mother and Kate's. She's like, you were married twice? He's like, this really isn't a time. She's like, I know I left you a long time ago, but I'm here now, and I want to know you, about your life, your family, your children, everything I missed. He's like, I wasn't married twice. I loved two women. Kentaro's mother here, Kate's in San Francisco. I gave in to what my heart wanted. I don't expect you to understand. And then he like walks forward. So it's like, In the past, in the shack, Kai is like sleeps in the bed. She like wakes and rolls over. Shaw's like sitting in a chair by like this like little stove fire thing. He asks how she's feeling, and then she's like, she says fine. She's like, how long was she out? He looks at his watch and he's like, a while. And he's like, I think we should get going. He like peeks through the window and she asks if he got any rest, and he's like, the Army teaches you to sleep with your eyes open, so. And then he like stands and like groans, and she's like, are you okay? And he's like, I'm fine. So she insists on looking, and he's like, it's just a little flesh wound. But she, makes him sit so, she can look at it. And then she's like, you'd rather sit here and bleed to death rather than admit you need help. He keeps like fussing, and she's like, what good is it, are you to me if you can't move? He's like, the bleeding stopped. And she's like, mostly, but it could get infected. He's like, I guess. She's like, give me your knife. He's like, what are you going to do, perform surgery? So she like looks at his wound, and he complains in pain. She's like, we got to go. He like stands up. He's like, enough, idiot. He's like, and she's like, why do you always do this? And he's like, do what? She's like, take care of everyone else but yourself. He's like, what I always do is follow you into every situation against my better judgment, but you run right into danger every GD time. She's like, so you're saying I'm reckless? He's like, yes, Kai, we almost died out there. What don't you understand about that? She's like, yes, we almost died, but that's always been a possibility. And if you can't handle it, you can leave. He's like, I can't leave you. And then they stand staring at each other for a bit. Then Kai reaches him and starts kissing him. So she started it. And then they go straight to like starting to take their clothes off. So then we see Kate. She's like, drinking at a bar at a loud club. This lady comes up and hugs her from behind. She's like, oh, I was surprised to see your text. So they start drinking. Her friend asks like, how's Hannah? And Kate's like, Danny. She's like, it was a long time ago. Then she tells Kate, there's something different about her. Then it's time to dance. More shots, more dancing, and they start smooching. May's looking through the project archives at Apex, and she gets a text from Tim. Did you find anything yet? Be careful. But it seems kind of silly to be texting while she's there and to do it so quickly. She's like, dude, she just got there. She starts like an internal search, like written restricted data. So restricted data. She searches Randa, Tokyo, and there's lots of stuff in Kentaro, Kaiko, and Hiroshi. Events are listed at like recorded. So she clicks on one. It's like the street camera footage of all four. And she's like, Jesus. She clicks another one. She says to herself, she's like, they've been following us since the beginning. Then there's one that says subject Randa, event live. And it's like shaky footage. It's like there's like audio. They're like, hurry, like pick up the pace. And someone's like, I'm working on it. They're like, it's open. They're like, hurry up. And like, this is going to the Pensacola office. So some people broke into Hiroshi's office and they're looking at the sphere thing. So they're going to take it. Then she texts, there's a group chat, like Goonies 2, like, we got a problem. So I'm not sure if she's just texting. I don't think, because I'm pretty sure when Tim texted, it said Tim. I don't think it said Goonies. I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure. Because the others enter the workshop and they discover that the sphere is missing. So Kentaro asks, like, why would they take it? And Hiroshi says that maybe they wanted the world to know this thing is out there. But then it turns out, or obviously there's a camera like up in the corner that he must not know about. So Kate and her friend are still dancing. Then the music stops and a big alert goes off. The alarm goes off. Kate's friend checks her phone. Other people are checking. Kate's pretty wasted, and the phone says it's a Monarch safety alert. The bartender turns on a TV. News says that there's a Titan sighting, and Kate drunkenly is like, "It's fine," and her friend's like, "No." It's like, "I don't think it is," and Kate's like, "It's fine. It's just a watch." Her friend asks if Kate has an evac plan. And she's like, no, I don't. It doesn't matter, okay? It's like, it was me. It was all my fault. And her friend's like, what are you talking about? And Kate just stares at her. And her friend's like, forget it. It's like, we got to go. And, she's like, tries to pull Kate out of there. And she's like, let me go. And her friend's like, look, please, she's like, no. And her friend's like, you need help. It's like, I'm going to go home. Maybe you should too. In the past, Shaw and Kai are walking through the woods in silence. Kai finally, it's like, what do we do now? He's like, well, we can't go back to the village. Obviously, we got to find a boat and a way to get a message off the island. And she's like, no. He's like, what? She's like, what are we going to do now? He's like, no. And then you hear, Kaiko, Kaiko. Bill's calling them from a boat in the water because they're walking along the, like the water and in the woods. So it's like perfect timing. Boat pulls up like close to land. Billy hops out. They hug. He's like, we're so lucky we found you. It's like, we've been looking everywhere. She's like, and he's like, I'm sorry. And she's like, no, it's okay. He's like, no, it's not. I shouldn't have left. And Kai's like, it's okay. You're right. We stick together. Then he's like, what is it? He's like, are you okay? And he's like, what happened? And she's like, nothing. It's fine. And he's like, okay. Kate's walking along the closed-off section of the city. There's like a bunch of chain link fence, lots of signs, like missing people, like, have you seen me, whatever. So from G-Day, all the people who like disappeared or died. She thinks back to evacuating the kids off the back of the school bus from the Golden Gate Bridge. And then she goes through an opening in a fence, even though it's like says restricted and all that stuff. And she thinks about like opening the rift. Then she falls to her knees and she thinks about everything and she starts sobbing. Cut to Washington, D.C., 1957. Shaw's in his apartment, I'm assuming. He's looking over like some Monarch paperwork, whatever. And then someone drops a letter through his mail slot. But it just says Lee on the front. Like kind of fancy script. So obviously it's from Kaiko. It's like, Dear Lee, first things first, I do love you. I realized it that night. I always have and I always will. But Billy has my heart. So what happened between us can never happen again. It would destroy everything we have built together. It would destroy a good man who we both love. I won't allow that to happen. And I don't believe that you want it either. In another lifetime, in another world, this could have been about us. Maybe in the next lifetime we will find each other again. Until then, I remain your Kai. And we also see like her like when she wrote it, she was like crying and everything like that. Shaw's just like stares off after he finished reading and drinks some more whiskey. Then we see Hiroshi walks out of his workshop. Kai like follows, and she's like, we'll find another way. We'll build another device and use it to get the Titan safely away from the world. And he's like, it took me 6 years to build that one. And she's like, well, we'll do it together. We have the blueprint. And he's like, and the time it will take us to get the components, the Titan could have killed God knows how many. It's like, now the world knows the panic it will cause. And she's like, we'll go back to Monarch. He's like, Monarch. He's like, that's all you think about, Monarch. And she's like, Hiroshi. She's like, why do you? He's like, Mom is just like him. Chasing monsters mattered more than anything. It certainly mattered more than me. She's like, why do you say that? He's like, you want to know why I speak with this accent? Because when I was 11 years old, he sent me to live with Mimi. Bill Randa disappeared. And she's like, that's not true. And he's like, I never saw him again. She's like, Billy would never leave you. He's like, I was just a child, but I do remember. And she's like, well, there must be some other reason. And Hiroshi's like, then tell me, what is it? What makes a man abandon an 11-year-old boy? She doesn't know what to say. Then 1962, we see young Hiroshi. He opens up this trunk. There's like letters, dog tag. There's a wooden box. And I don't know if there's I thought there was a pocket knife in there, but then he's using a blade. Like it must be like a sharpening thing. And then Bill calls up. He's like Hiro, like dinner's ready. And he's like, oh, what do you got there? So Hiro's like, it's like, oh, my knife got dull. So the knife must not have been in there. He's like, I was hoping Uncle Lee would have something to help. So Bill's like, he's like, yeah, he was always good like that. So Hiro says that he misses him. And Billy's like, yeah, me too. He's like, I miss them both. And he's like, hey, why don't you go pour yourself a glass of milk? He's like, I'll clean all this up, all right? And he's like, okay. And Billy, like, he gives him a hug. Billy starts to pick up the stuff. And then when he picked up a few stuff, the envelope with Lee's name falls like onto the floor. And I'm assuming, he recognizes Kai's handwriting. And then he's going to read the letter. And he's going to know that they hooked up. That is the end of episode 3. So it's like, oh, man. So it's like, did he leave after this? Because I was assuming, because I believe, correct me if I'm wrong. I could be totally wrong. I should look this up to confirm. Actually, hang on. I'm going to do that. Yeah, so in Kong Skull Island, John Goodman played Bill Randa. So this has to be some years after this moment, because John Goodman was older than Bill Randa is here. So I don't know if he sent Hero off to whoever this Mimi person is, because even though he cares about him, he's like he couldn't be around him because he's just a reminder of Kai betraying him, or because I thought they were just together until he went to the island and then never came back, but maybe that's not the case. But yeah, so that is I'm sure we'll find out more. We'll see more what happened. But that is the end of episode 3. So episode 4 is now available. Okay, and now the movie feature is Project Hail Mary, starring Ryan Gosling. This is based off the book written by Andy Weir, who I believe wrote The Martian, right? And let's see. Yeah, his 2011 The Martian was adapted in 2015, directed by Ridley Scott. It's directed by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller. It is written by Drew Goddard, and I love this movie. It was so good. So I listened to the audio. I'm sure I mentioned that before, and they did a good job. I almost feel like the trailers gave away too much, because basically what's going on is the sun is like dying. There's something's going on, but the way the book starts off, the movie kind of does too. But they don't go into, obviously they don't go in as much detail as the book, because the book has more room for that. But basically, Ryan Gosling wakes up in a spaceship, and he was like in a coma. And so the book really plays it out a lot longer, because for the longest time it's like, what is your name? And he doesn't know. It's like there's this like automated robot thing that's like helping and doing stuff, and computers talk to him, and it keeps like asking like, what's his name? He doesn't know. He doesn't remember anything. He doesn't know what's going on. And it's awesome, man. See, I just want to like talk all comparisons, but I don't want to give away too much. What they show you in the trailer is he was like a middle school science teacher, but he was also super smart. He there's more to it than that. He actually like was this big time whatever scientist dude, and he wrote this paper. He had this opinion on something that didn't go well. He insulted a bunch of other people, whatever. So he's teaching at this school, which I think I forgot what they said the name of the school in there, but it can't be. No offense, it can't be a regular school, because like every one of his students was like super excited to answer these questions, and were super smart and all this, and knowing all these like incredibly details. And sadly, it doesn't always work that way. It's not, it's so hard to keep these kids engaged. And so as I talk, as I am a middle school math teacher, a lot of times, I'm almost like I'm fighting the kids to try to teach them, and I make it perfectly clear. I was like, this is not necessarily going to be the most exciting thing, and you're not going to like that I'm giving you homework that I'm like push. I push them within reason, because I've taught high school. I know what they need, where they need to go. Then, even though that was like a long time ago now, the fact that I'm tutoring, a former student in geometry, and a former student in algebra 2. So it's like, I know, I'm all our eighth graders are taking algebra. So they're potentially advanced, because in high school, and I apologize if this is boring, but this is how things work. So in ninth grade, you either take algebra or geometry. So we are giving the kids potential to be advanced. And there's times where I'm like, I'm kind of fighting them. I'm like trying to teach them. I know what they're going to need to know in high school, and I'm like pushing. I was like, you may not like it now. You are going to appreciate it later if I can get this knowledge, if I can push it through your head, get you to understand this. And I talked to them. I was like, when we do like this big long problem, I was like, okay, I'm not saying you're going to be a math nerd or that you whatever, but I was like, you do this you do a big problem, you get it right. It's like you have a sense of accomplishment, right? And they're like, yeah. I was like, yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. That you have to appreciate. This is I'm pushing them. I'm giving them like harder stuff, not like impossibly hard or anything like that. But I'm not going to settle for just like the average. And there are some kids that can barely handle like the average stuff. But I want to try to push them. So I try to reach everyone. And there, the great thing is there are some kids that are excited, that are getting it. And they're not going to be jumping out of their seats because you can't do that. The rest of the class is going to be like, what are you doing? So, there's a lot of great kids in the class, but it's not, this is like a totally different situation. So anyways, he's a science teacher doing all these different things, all these different experiments and stuff. It's like, obviously, I can't do that math. We don't have lots of math experiments and stuff like that. And I just feel like there's so much curriculum. You don't have time to be like creative and do all these different things. But maybe, the better Uber teachers can figure all that out, whatever. So he's a science teacher, and, he gets brought into, okay, the sun is dying. We are all going to become extinct unless you do something. So somehow he goes from that, because you see in the trailer, he's like, I'm not an astronaut. But then obviously we know he's going to end up out there. So the reason for the coma, and again, I'm not giving it too much away, it is like light years away where he has to go, because they have to figure out like what is happening. There's like this other star, which is a similar situation, but the conditions are a little different. Something different is happening. They need to figure out what's going on there so they can, solve the problem in our solar system, with Earth and our sun. So he's put in a coma so he can survive, the trip and everything. And things don't go so smoothly, and so there's just a lot of that. And you also see in the trailer that he comes into contact with an alien life form. So and what it is this alien life form is on the same mission, basically. His planet, its planet, his planet is dealing with the same thing. So can they overcome their differences? Because they don't. It's not like this alien speaks English, doesn't speak, really have a language. How can they work together to try to solve this problem? And it's just really amazing. It's like, I feel like it's so emotional. So I mentioned I saw this movie with my daughter, and I should, I'll say this again. We saw a Screen X version. So Screen X is where you have the whole front screen, and it even like fills up the entire one. Because like when you watch the trailers, it's not the entire screen being used. There's like a border around the image, but then you literally see it like the image gets bigger. And then you got the two side walls are projected too, not during the entire movie, but during like several key moments. There's like two projectors on the side shining to opposite walls, plus the projector in the back that shines forward. So you got like three things going, and it's like you're immersed in the movie. The sides aren't perfect, because it's almost like slightly distorted because it's on an angle, but you get more of what's going on. There are scenes where, like, out in space, it's like, holy crap, this looks so amazing. It's like so gorgeous. And you really get a sense of just how immense things are. And this is what like Screen X is for. Scream 7, it was cool to see some extra stuff. Not essential. There's times where I'm watching this, I'm thinking, I was like, I kind of feel a little bad. Not really. It's not that big of a deal, but I kind of feel a little bad for all the people who can't watch it in a Screen X, because I don't know how many theaters have Screen X set up, but it's a new thing, and there's just a lot of people who don't have the opportunity. Like IMAX, it's hard to go to IMAX theater. For me, I got to go all the way in the city and park, and I'm not going to do that. With Screen X, some people don't even have that choice. There's no theaters around. Maybe. I don't know. So they're missing on all the parts. Like, there's a part where Ryan Gosling is like floating because, gravity or whatever. And on the main screen, you just really see like his chest and his head, as he's reaching for the controls or whatever. But then with the Screen X part, you see like the rest of his body. And like on the other side, it's like there's more controls and more stuff, and so there's just like so much more. But again, there's never going to be anything like crucial on the sides, because it's the same movie that's playing in the Screen X theater versus, a regular theater. So you're never going to have like Ryan Gosling or a main character or whatever talking on one of the sides, because you're not going to see that. I mean, unless they're talking off camera or whatever. But it's kind of, just seeing all like the visual stuff. It's like, wow, this is so cool. Looking out, seeing space, or like the ships, or just like, other stuff. It's like, it was really cool seeing that. Now, again, it's like $21 or something like that to see that. How much does a movie cost? I think when I saw Mission Impossible, it was like $17, because this theater, they have like two quote unquote giant screens, and then there's like so many different prices at this theater. So you got the giant screen. I think it adds like maybe $2, but then like, is it a laser showing? Laser projecting, because I guess they must have different projectors. And so it depends on what they get. So the laser's better and the sound's better. And so, there's all this different stuff. So if you're looking like even if it's like you're saying $15 a movie ticket, $15, $21, yeah, there's a slight difference there. And then, so if I paid $21, I paid like $42.50 or whatever, because me and my daughter went. And we got, she wanted some popcorn and icy. And I was like, yeah, I'll take some popcorn too. And so it was very expensive. Which is why I got that Patreon, why I need that Patreon. But it was really cool. I know I'm off topic with the movie, but I don't know if I would go to another screen. It's really going to depend on the movie. I knew I had a really strong idea. I was like, this is a movie that would be cool in Screen X. What am I seeing? Probably next week, Ready or Not, that's not in Screen X. It probably wouldn't need to be. It could be fun, but I mean, there's certain things. It really has to be visual. This movie, there's a lot of emotion going on, and I mean, there's like stuff, and I don't want to give stuff away, but even though I listened to the audiobook, it's like and the movie, it probably captures like 95% of the book. I mean, maybe not even that much, but there's some other things that the movie kind of has to fast track a little bit, like the way they communicate, the way they learn to communicate. That goes by really fast in the movie. There's other things like, why is Ryan Gosling the only one out in space? There were other astronauts that were supposed to go too. What happened there? So that's like a big thing, and they do obviously explain it in the movie, but it's like it's a bigger deal in the book, and there's other things as well where they kind of cut some things, because the movie I think I don't remember. See, how long was it? I think it was 2 hours and. I don't know, it was 2 hours and 45 minutes, maybe. I don't know, but it was they did a great job, and I mean, Ryan Gosling's amazing. He's such a good. I saw a clip from The Fall Guy when he's in his car listening to Taylor Swift, and I mean, I enjoyed that movie. I still don't understand why that movie bombed so much. It's not a great movie. It's a popcorn movie. It is a fun action whatever movie. And it's just crazy, him and Emily Blunt, right? I don't understand how that movie bombs so hard, but because he's just great in everything he does. Even like him and Barbie. I mean, the fact that you had Ryan Gosling and Margot Robbie, and yeah, there's a ton of other people, but those two, I mean, they were so good in that movie, and it's just there's a lot of it. It's just Ryan Gosling and this alien. But man, there's so many emotion. I mean, I am not afraid to admit. I mean, I teared up a few times, even though I knew it was going to happen. And I would look over at my daughter a couple times, and she's very focused and engaged and everything like that. I was like, oh, I guess maybe I'm just so sappy and whatever. My emotions are a mess right now or whatever. But then after, I was like, what'd you think? She's like, my head hurts from crying so much. And I mean, but it's just it's such a weird feeling. It just that immensity, just being out in space and just like all the stakes are involved. There's a lot, and I think it's just real easy to just not think about that, because I mean, it's a movie, whatever, but just to think about like everything that you give up and everything that's at stake. I feel like if you really think about it and put yourself like in a character's shoes, I mean, it's a bigger deal. So I don't know, but yeah, it was just really, really something. Now, how is the movie doing? It had 190 to $200 million, so it's like about a $200 million budget. It so far early has made $12 million. Let's see if we can get more detail. It's playing. Oh, it's also playing in IMAX. So that's crazy. Like, so they had to film it in IMAX. They had to film it with Screen X. So how do you? I mean, I guess if the IMAX is, let's see, does the IMAX just chop off the top or the bottom, or does it just go into the center? I don't know about that. I mean, I'm sure there's been comparisons to that. So is the Screen X, would they just take an IMAX and just chop off the top and the bottom, and then you just get like the really long rectangle, like longer than a regular rectangular screen? So you have that. Let's see. Deadline Hollywood reported the film is projected to have a 45 to 55 million domestic opening. Then that was on February. March, because they're based off pre-sale tickets, I'm assuming. In March 17th, Variety upped those estimations to 63 to 65 million domestic. So that's just domestic. While also estimating the film would need to gross at least 500 million to break even. Then Rotten Tomatoes, so this has changed a little bit. Rotten Tomatoes score, critics, 95% of the critics gave it a favorable review. The popcorn meter, the audience, 97% loved this movie, whatever. See, Wall Street Journal, which they were kind of brutal on some other things, this guy. Project Hail Mary is at its core a kid's movie that lessens its gravity a bit, but it also makes the kind of film that will send happy viewers soaring into orbit again and again. I don't know if it's necessarily a kid's movie. I think it could be a little intense. Maybe I'm wrong. Toronto Star gave it a 2.5 out of 4. Okay, whatever. I'm not going to read that. NPR. Oh, wait. I'm trying to read. So the tomato is not good. Weir is a really thoughtful writer, as is screenplay writer Drew Goddard, and Gosling can be an exceptionally quiet and sympathetic actor. I don't know what that means. Okay, because there's just a tomato. I mean, I still don't. Whatever. I don't understand Rotten Tomatoes, because then. Killer movie reviews, there's a tomato. Do they all have tomatoes? I guess they all have tomatoes. Okay, so this one doesn't have a score unless I click it. I'm not going to click it. Killer movie reviews gave it a 5 out of 5. Confluence of story writing, arresting visuals, sublime sound design, and directions that finds every salient beat to create suspense, tension, and wonder. This is not, oh my gosh, this is like so, like put every word that you can in there. CG Magazine, 8 out of 10. To call Project Hail Mary visually astonishing. To call Project Hail Mary visually astonishing would be a huge understatement. Yes, I agree. Movies and Shakers, they don't really give a good conclusion there. I mean, it just says it may show up on best movie lists, being compared with E.T. and Close Encounters at more than 2.5 hours. Miller played a long game. Gosling something. Audience reviews. Ann S. says 5 stars. Perfect adaptation of a wonderful book. Someone else named Tony, not me, because they only gave it 3 out of 5. I walked away from the movie feeling disappointed. Whatever, dude. Jazz, 5 out of 5. Brent, 4 out of 5. Liked the story, didn't like the ending. I think the ending's a little open-ended. Maybe not. Maybe it's clear. I think they added something to the ending that wasn't in the book, but overall it was basically the same if you read the book. Spoilers. Google, I don't think this is not the official Google. 5 out of 5. Kyler, 5 out of 5. I'm blessed to be alive during this era, the era this movie was released. So yeah, there you go. I mean, it was good. You should see it. I don't know what else to say. I mean, I could go on and on talk about this movie, but it was great. I enjoyed it. I would dare say I loved it. I would definitely see it again. I need to buy this movie. I hope, because you know me, I'm a sucker. I hope there's a steelbook, because I need a steelbook. But if they're not, I will get a regular version. But I need a steelbook. You need to see this. You should definitely see it on a big screen, the biggest screen possible, and best sound, because it's such an experience. It's so good. But that's my thoughts. So I'm going to leave it with that instead of just going on and just saying the same thing. You should see it. It's good. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm not sure what the running time was. It might be a little shorter, but that's good, because I don't think I was falling asleep at all during this episode. But that's going to be the podcast for this week. So big thanks to Andrew Loken. He is a big supporter of the show. You can be a supporter by going to patreon.com/gmanfromheck. Any amount you can commit to will be awesome. If you commit at the Rick Jones tier or higher, you get access to the secret podcast from Heck, which is an additional 30-ish minutes of extra podcast entertainment every single week. I just did an off my mind about the Hulk. Is Banner responsible for the Hulk's destruction, the stuff that he does? Is he innocent? It's not his fault, is it? Maybe, and so forth. I'm probably going to do a Silver Age wacky comic cover to see what the heck is going on. But if you can't commit to a monthly commitment, you can also help out by going to coffee.com/gmanfromheck, and you can buy me a virtual cup of coffee or two, and that's ko-fi.com/gmanfromheck. All right, what is going to be next week? It's kind of tricky. So there's going to be Daredevil. Since we got Daredevil, we got Monarch, and definitely Ready or Not. Here I Come. Ready or Not 2. They Will Kill You also comes out. I'm curious to see it. I feel like it's a Ready or Not ripoff. I could be totally wrong. So part of me is like, I kind of want to watch both of them so I can compare them both, because then I think something comes out the following week. Let's see if I can find that. So I don't want to just like skip over They Will Kill You, because it could be interesting. You know, I don't want to just skip it. Let's see. So They Will Kill You. Then April 3rd. Oh, see, maybe I could do that. Maybe I would just, no. Because April 1st, Wednesday, April 1st, Super Mario Galaxy movie. So despite 2 voice actors in there I'm not super crazy about, I'm probably going to see that. So I don't know. I'm going to try to see They Will Kill You. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, so that's going to be it. Hopefully I can get caught up with everything else. I hope you are doing well. I hope you get a chance to see Project Hail Mary. I hope you like it if you do. Read the book. The book is great. It's on Audible. It's great narration on there. But I hope you are taking care of yourself. I hope you're finding time to do fun things. And I hope you remember, be good to each other.